Hey everyone, it is Friday, November 30th, and this is episode 2 of Super GameTalk Turbo HD Remix. I'm Travis, aka Capanius, and I'm here with Johnny, also known as Vertigo Tea Party.
Hello.
And we're back for another week of game discussion. We've played our Xbox Ones, and we have some very specific impressions to give you on that. But I think first we're going to start with some of the non-Xbox One games we've been playing. What have you been playing this week, Johnny?
Well, I've played a little bit of a lot of different things. I picked up a game called Combat Monsters for one of my Let's Tries that I do on my channel, youtube.com/Vertigo Tea Party. It's one of those games where it shows you don't judge a book by its cover. Because when I first saw videos of it, I was like, man, yeah, this is kind of like a throwaway title. It kind of looks like it was just thrown out there for mobile phones to make some money. But I started playing it and I really, really liked it. It's a computer card game like Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering, but it actually has a battlefield and you control a hero who can summon the monsters, but you have to summon the monsters around him. So there's tactical elements because your position matters a lot. So in a nutshell, it was a lot of fun to play. It's actually free to play, which again normally scares me off when anybody says free to play. But it's really cool and it's cross-platform. So if you want to play against someone else and you're on the computer, you might be playing against somebody who's on the Android phone or their iPhone or their iPad. So I think it's really cool. Definitely check out Combat Monsters. I was pretty happy with that. I also played Mr. Bree Plus again. I had become aware of this game early this year. I guess it started off as a flash game on Congregate as just Mr. Bree returning home or something like that. And this is kind of the next step, kind of like how Meat Boy went to Super Meat Boy. This is the Super Meat Boy version, and it's also a platformer. But I really like the animation styles, just the way the game is presented, and it has a little bit of a story too, where he's trying to return home and he's finding memories. It's a fun little platformer. I think it was like $10. Definitely check out Mr. Bree Plus, and I will try to remember to put links to all these games in the description. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube,
is that on Steam or Greenlight?
It's on Steam Greenlight. It's been on Greenlight for a long time. Hopefully now they're actually, I think the game is released or it's about to be released very soon. So hopefully now that they have an actual working product, they can get greenlit. Let's see, what else? I played a game called Stasis, and actually, off the top of my head, I don't remember anything about it. I have to come back to that one.
So Stasis really left an impression on you.
Yeah, don't read that the wrong way. My memory is awful. I actually have to make a list of all the games that I've played in the week, especially given that I tend to play a lot because indie developers will either send me a game or I'll look for them to showcase on my YouTube channel. So don't let that scare you off. I think there is actually a Kickstarter for Stasis, and as soon as I actually remember anything about it, I'll go back and talk about it. I played Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Edition again for my Let's Try. It's nerd blasphemy, but I did not like Baldur's Gate 1 at all. I played it on release, and I am a huge D&D person. I've played Dungeons and Dragons since like 1995. So when that game came out, I wanted to love it, and I didn't like it for various reasons.
Is it kind of like when you see the adaptation of a book into a movie that you've read, that you're looking at all the things that aren't in there? Like, is it kind of like that? Like, no, you just saw what was missing, or?
It was more the way it was implemented. For example, the AI was really bad it had that old, we don't see this as much anymore, but that old AI problem where you're in a party, and it's one of those scenarios where you've got, 2 or 3 different people in your party, but the game ends if your character dies.
Yeah.
Well, the AI focuses exclusively on your character often. So I'd be finding there's one boss in particular that you run into in town, and he tries to kill you. Well, he completely ignores your party members and will just chase you in circles around and around and around while your party members beat the hell out of him, which is absolutely ridiculous and very difficult if you don't make a character that's a warrior or a paladin, somebody who's built to take a beating. And later on, a lot of several of the fights seem to be built around abusing gimmicks or abusing bad AI in order to beat the encounter if you weren't the quote-unquote correct class. So it just really, really turned me off. I did try Baldur's Gate 2, this Enhanced Edition. So far, I'm enjoying it. I'm about 2 or 3 hours in. I probably won't beat it, but I do like it. I like the old style, but man, I forgot how ridiculously complicated 2nd edition D&D was. Like how
that's
we
going
ever
way back, isn't it?
Yeah, that's 95, 96 era style D&D. It was so confusing because armor class, for example, I mean, when you think armor class, you think the more the better. Well, in 2nd edition D&D, the less armor class is better. So like -5 AC was really good armor class. And you had something called THAC0, which stood for to hit armor class 0, and you wanted that to be low as well because you had to subtract your AC from the THAC0, and then whatever that was, you had to roll that.
That seems so complicated.
Like in hindsight, it's like, I think I made this analogy on Twitter, but it was trying to go through those old rules is like finding an old picture of yourself in a members only jacket and wearing a rat tail on your head. And anybody younger than like 25 is probably not going to get that reference. But believe me, it's awful. But yeah, I liked it so far. I would probably play through it if I had more time to focus on games that I wasn't recording. I also played a game called Heldric, which is a city builder hack and slash. Which, again, indie games, it's interesting, if nothing else, to have them take completely unrelated genres and just put these two things together and see what happens. Sometimes you get Reese's Pieces, and then sometimes...
Put it through the genre blender.
Sometimes you get a mayonnaise and jelly sandwich.
Oh.
Yeah, it does sound pretty good right now, doesn't it? So, it's interesting. My problem with Heldric is that it's too weak on both sides, on both the city building side and the hack and slash side. Again, I do have a let's try of it if you want to check it out, if it sounds interesting. I don't want to take up the whole podcast talking about every single game I've played this week. But like I say, it wasn't bad. It was just a little too weak on both ends. And lastly, I played a game called Lumini. I think that's how I pronounce it, Lumini. It reminds me a lot of Flower in that it seems more of a sit back and relax and kind of play this to chill out. There's no or at least so far, there's been no like hard parts where you have to time these things properly or beat a tough boss, or it's more of, the music's very soothing. Now you can die in it. The idea is you're controlling a school of fish and you're swimming around collecting these crystals, which you use to make more fish. And instead of just dying outright if you take damage, your fish will die. And if you lose every fish in your school, then you lose and you start over. But for the most part, it's pretty easy to not die and just swim around and grab the crystals and whatnot. So that's been a pretty smooth, fun game.
And
so
that was a let's try as well.
That was also on a let's try. I think it's actually a student project. Mm-hmm. Right now there is a free pre-alpha build. And for pre-alpha, it's pretty polished, I gotta say. Cool. But yeah, you can actually just search for Lumini, Lumini, and you should be able to find it. Right now, they don't have a price listed, so I don't know if they intend it to just be free forever, or they just haven't decided what they're going to do about that. So what did you play this week?
Well, aside from Xbox One games, I finished up Knack. Not much more to say about that. It is... I think we covered it pretty well last week.
So, but overall, if we were to give it a number rating, where 1 is terrible, 10 is amazing, and 5 is meh, it's all right, not terrible, not great, what would you give it?
I think a 7.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we said last week you'll have to go back and see what I said, but I feel like I was thinking a 7, whereas a lot of people were giving it 5s and 6, even so low as 3 and 4s, which I just don't get because. I see a lot of people assigning 6 and 7s to Rise, and I feel like that game is similar in that there is a pretty basic underlying core gameplay experience that's press the right button at the right time, learn your enemy's attacks, that it is not getting as much of a backlash from the Rise isn't cutesy or as Knack is. Knack's kind of got a disposable story and disposable characters, and for whatever reason, even though I think the core gameplay experiences are similar in some regards, it was totally like forgotten about with Knack, and then Rise gets a pass because it's dismembering and super bloody.
Well, I don't even think it's that. I think it's the graphics. I read a few reviews out of curiosity, and it seemed a common theme was, yeah, this game's kind of bland and boring, but man, it sure looks good.
Yeah.
So I think that pushed their scores up, and I don't know. I'm not totally against that idea that I enjoyed this game more because it looks amazing.
Yeah, because I feel like that does help you get into the reality of the game more.
And people have no problem with doing that if the game doesn't necessarily look like hyper realistic, but it's artistically pleasing.
Right.
People have no problem doing that.
Yeah.
So I don't see a problem with saying I like this game more just because it looks good. Now, saying it's terrible, but because it looks good, I'm going to give it a 7. Right. That would be bad.
Yeah.
But from what I gathered was most people didn't hate it. It was just not great. And if it weren't for the graphics, I get the impression they probably would have given it like a 5 or a 6.
Yeah, and I would say that, despite the difference in tones, Rise has better artistic direction than Knack. Knack is pretty even though it's a completely different aesthetic, it doesn't accomplish that aesthetic as well as Rise does, I think.
Yeah.
Because Rise does do visual justice to what they're going for in terms of a dirty roam and cutting off people's arms.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of clips of dismemberment of that game. So
yeah, and I think a score, in my opinion, should rate your overall enjoyment with the experience. And people love to it doesn't have to be about graphics. It's not all about graphics. I agree with that, but unfortunately, that people are taking that too far. That graphics don't matter. Well, that's not true. Like when I play something like The Witcher 2, I'm still playing The Witcher 2. I'm still. I've put 30 hours in that game, but I'll still come to new areas. I'm like, wow, this game really looks good, and that helps my enjoyment of the game. Now, if it looked bad or if it looked dated, I would still enjoy it, and I would probably just ignore the graphical parts. But because they're there, my experience overall is absolutely enhanced, and I overall enjoy the game better because of that. And again, I play old games. I just played through Thief 1 again recently, and it has not aged all that well. So I can look past the graphics.
We really just need to go back to GamePro's review system, where there was a separate score for graphics and sound and gameplay. And if you hit 5.0, there was that dude with the thumbs up.
Yeah.
They had it right, But yeah, finish Knack, and the ending is completely skippable. Everything in that game is skippable. The cutscenes are. But I started on hard. Even though I have Killzone and Assassin's Creed 4 to play, I kind of want to I want to beat it on hard, and I want to beat it on very hard. I want to keep updating the difficulty. And I've played the first few chapters on hard, and it's very difficult, but it's very rewarding too.
I was actually just about to ask you that. Do you feel like you want to play through it? Obviously you do. And I think that speaks really well, because a lot of games these days, you play it, you beat it, and you're done. Mm-hmm. And not to go into it too far, but that's not necessarily the game's fault. A lot of that has to do is gaming is so much different than it was when me and
there's so many more games to play.
Right. We're adults now, and we've got ridiculous backlog of games, and we keep buying new ones, of course, because we're mature. We're grown damn men. We can do what we want.
Yeah, I make all the money so I can buy all the games.
Yeah, so it's a different scenario where if a game let's look at DuckTales for the NES. Can you imagine that being released today? I just did an LP of that. It took me about an hour to beat that entire game, and it was a $50 game if I remember right.
Even if it was released as a downloadable $15 game, people would be bitching about it. It's too short.
Yeah,
I did not get my money's worth.
I mean, Gone Home got that, and I haven't played Gone Home yet, but it's like a 1.5 to 2 hours to beat it, and it's like $20. And people are like, "Oh my god, like that's insane!" Imagine if DuckTales came out or any game came out. I was like, "Yeah, this game's an hour."
I know that we're going to talk about the Steam sale a little bit later, but Gone Home I think was on sale for
10. I think.
Yeah, it was either 5 or 10, but that game is really good. I mean, I paid 17 for it, and I didn't feel ripped off or anything. But $5 or $10, that's when it really gets to the point where, if you were a naysayer because of its length, just get it when it's on sale. But
maybe I should do that.
It does a really interesting job. But like, there's always been the storytelling mechanic of like found objects that reveal things about like audio logs. Like this is a very tried and true plot device for games. And Gone Home just does that the best I've ever seen. Like you learn all these things about these characters that don't exist in this world with you in very subtle ways where you have to interpolate when they're saying these things in a note or a diary or something. There's subtext to what's going on in their life that relates to other members of the family. And it's very well thought out and it's very well done. It's good that that's well done because that's pretty much the only thing that game does.
Right. Yeah, and I've been wanting to play it, but it's one of the things where the more hype a game gets, especially if it's an indie game, the more I start going, now I'm starting to doubt it's that good. And because, and again, we're getting off topic, but the whole indie scene thing, there's a lot of people out there who will like a game just because it's an indie game. Like, it can be boring and have very little play value, and maybe it hits a few notes on being unique graphically or have some interesting sounds, and all of a sudden it's game of the year. This is the best thing I've ever played. And I've seen that happen over and over. And the Gone Home got tons and tons of hype. So I started thinking, okay, maybe this is it. And I talked to someone who has a channel. Her name is Manga Minx. Her current channel is called RPG Minx. And I was talking to her about this game, and I was like, I'm kind of skeptical. She's like, well, she's like, for me, I loved it, but it hit home because she's a lesbian, and I think the character in the game is lesbian. I don't think that's a big spoiler or anything, but hopefully it wasn't. But so she's like, for me, that like hit home for me because a lot of the things she said and thought were things that I've said and thought in that same scenario. So it was more of, wow, this game like really gets me. So I definitely want to try it out.
Yeah,
and
I
give
think
it a shot.
What happens is that if an indie game does something artistically correct, like has good art, then a lot of the other ways to measure a game get a pass. So if this tells a really good story, if this makes you feel something through some way, then even if the gameplay or other parts of it aren't as polished or refined, it's just kind of... And I see how that happens because as a medium, video games don't have their artistic boundaries pushed very often. And so if somebody really cares about video games with the potential of art and a clumsy game comes along that does something new, it's kind of given a buy in a lot of respects. But at the same time, you can see how a lot of these indie game apologists might not help, in a way, don't help the indie movement go forward because they're getting a lot of pass, and they should be subject to the same criticism and gameplay and all these other things. But it's just so hard for them to get some of the polish right on the really small teams. So I can see where it comes from, but I totally am the same way that when something is super hyped, it reaches a point where it's like, all right, I don't want anything to do with that anymore now. I keep hearing about this. But yeah, I still haven't gone back and finish it. I didn't even finish it in one sitting, so I need to finish Gone Home. But I got like all the way up to the end of it. But I think that game is really interesting, and it does a good job with how it tells story.
Well, what you were talking about before, and we'll go back to hit the games you played in a second. I think the shining example of that, what you were talking about, where this one element is just so good you're willing to overlook like the kind of crappiness on other levels. Walking Dead is such a fantastic example of that. The gameplay, like if you took out all the story elements and every time you talked to a person it just said blah 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 and you played through that game, it would suck.
It'd be terrible.
The gameplay is crap. Like it's very simplistic, it's just not good. The gameplay is not good, but the story and the characters and the voice acting is so well done. I don't care. I love the game anyway, and I recommend it to everybody that I know. Well, I don't like Walking Dead. I don't care. Play it. I don't really watch Walking Dead either, and I thought it was amazing. I don't like zombie games. It's not a zombie game. It's a game that has zombies in it, but it's not about like, ooh, gotta survive the zombie apocalypse. It's more about the people dealing with the situation in a day-to-day fashion. And, it did a really good job of really hitting people with these characters that you ended up caring about and like making you very angry or upset. I mean, how many videos are there out there of people crying during different parts of that game? That's saying a lot when a game can make somebody cry about it. But again, the gameplay isn't very good and the graphics are, they're all right. But like I said, it's one of those rare cases, I think, that one part, the whole story and the voice acting, all that is so damn good, nothing else matters.
And I think that's what I'll probably say this several times on the podcast going forward. But this is obviously my favorite medium of expression of all time, because games offer a limitless spectrum of balance between storytelling and interactivity. You can have a narrative where you're trying to tell a story, and then you can have any amount of interactivity to push or supplement that narrative. So in the case of Walking Dead, it's a whole lot of storytelling and a whole lot of really good storytelling. And I could see somebody like could say, well, that could be adapted to a movie pretty easily because there's not a whole lot of interaction. But what really hits the story beats hard is when you are put in a place where you have to make a choice between two terrible things.
Right, yeah.
In a limited amount of time. So it's like, you've got 10 seconds to decide horrible thing A or horrible thing B.
Yeah.
And the whole thing it's getting at is that humanity's in this terrible state and everything's gone to crap. And it's not really, like, the zombies were just the backdrop to human beings losing their humanity. And you are experiencing that, and you feel a firsthand sense of despair and loss that you wouldn't experience in a movie or a television show. That there's something more voyeur about TV or movies because you're watching these characters experiencing it. If you are interacting with a story, you are that character experiencing it. And so it hits you in a different way. But that is definitely an example of a game that just has an excellent storytelling. The gameplay wise, it's not engaging at all, but it's just when you're put in those situations where you have to make a choice to move along the story. So Walking Dead is definitely one of those games that, for the longest time, the people that would write stories for video games are kind of just like, hire them from college and you just come up with whatever story you can. We need you to go from the desert level to the island level, come up with a way that happens, And it was such an afterthought. But Walking Dead's a really good example of, let's start with the story and build a really good story that does a lot of justice to the franchise too. So,
this will be the last I say before we skip back. But I was just thinking randomly, I think it'd be awesome on multiple levels to watch. You've seen the thing where Conan O'Brien plays games. I think it'd be awesome to have him play Walking Dead. Like, I would love to see him, a non-gamer. I would love to see his reactions. Like playing the game when certain big things happen. Like, I want to see him play the whole thing, or not. I mean, have him play the whole thing, not pick him up before, like this. Like 5 minutes before this terrible thing's going to happen, because he's not invested in the characters at that point. I'd love to see what, again, he, a non-gamer, if he would be like, oh wow, like I'm actually moved that this thing happened.
He'd probably be like, turn off the cameras. This isn't funny.
Yeah, this is awful. I feel terrible.
But yeah, there's definitely a place for Conan too. I think that I think the origins of that is that somebody's like, hey, we have all these people playing video games. We should talk about video games. I don't know anything about video games. Like, how about I just act like I don't know about video games? They're pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so finished Knack. I started playing hard on Knack, but I also started in earnest playing Killzone. So I'm about halfway through Killzone, and a lot of the complaints of Killzone Shadowfall are that this is yet another Killzone game, it's yet another shooter, it's generic, and I totally see that stuff, but I've never played a Killzone game, so I couldn't tell you which mechanics are new to the series. And from what I've heard, the owl mechanic, you have like a little drone that you can send off to either be an attack or a defense, or to help you do a zip line to different areas. I've heard that's new, but I think the ability to scan your area to see enemies behind walls and stuff has a pretty cool visual aesthetic to it, and that's a pretty useful tool. I've used that a lot, and so I'm having fun with that. I mean, it's nothing groundbreaking, it's nothing exceptional, but it's an excuse to keep playing my PS4. So. And then I still haven't gone back to Assassin's Creed 4, but I'm planning on doing that. And then I finished Sound Shapes and Flower. I finished Flower. I beat it.
You beat your final boss. Yeah. Area's real tough.
Yeah, and then I went through the interactive credits in Flower, which is just more Flower.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
So did you ever beat Super Motherload?
No, we never went back to Super Motherload. Wow. We've been playing Knack co-op. Sarah just finished Knack, actually. Mm-hmm. So,
like on her own?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's funny because she doesn't play games very much, and she's like, I think that's like the first like full-fledged retail story-based game I've ever finished, like ever.
Well, if she could possibly beat Chuzzle, then she's beaten it multiple. Hello, Sarah. Happy birthday.
Yeah. It's my wife's birthday tomorrow, so to celebrate her birthday, we're going to talk about how much she's played Chuzzle. And I think she's going to hate me for this, but I think right now her Steam counter is up to about 180 hours on Chuzzle. So that's definitely something to be proud of. I'm proud of you, honey.
Well, to counter that, so she doesn't feel as bad, I think I've got about 400-ish hours in Team Fortress 2.
Yeah, I remember looking at my playtime on Final Fantasy 11 at one time, and it came back 15 weeks or something. Yeah. Oh, crap. Although I did leave that game open a lot to sell things.
Cheating.
Yeah. But yeah, they're definitely, man, you count how many hours I just played Pokemon. I've played Pokemon for 300 or 400 hours before.
I've played Pokemon for 0 hours and 0 minutes.
Yeah, well, you don't know what you're missing.
That's what I keep hearing. That's what I keep hearing. So she played all the way through
Knack on easy.
Okay.
Yeah. So, to be honest, Knack on normal is pretty difficult.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Yeah. I've heard a lot of reviewers complaining about the difficulty on normal.
Yeah. It's normal is harder, and I think easy feels a lot like most normals, like in terms of difficulty. And we've played co-op, but the funny thing about co-op on Knack, and I know we've talked about Knack a lot, so if you hate Knack, sorry.
This is the Knack cast.
Knack cast.
So hit us up with that collab. Sorry.
Yeah. The co-op in Knack is really odd and obviously tacked on. Anybody can pick up the Player 2 controller and hit X and become Robo-Knack. And then you were just like another player on the field, but like every time there's a cutscene, Robo-Knack's gone. And every time, like if Robo-Knack dies, like everything continues to keep going on. But if player 1 dies, then that's it.
Oh, wow.
It's really just like they dropped in another controllable character. And one thing that's cool is Robo-Knack can heal Knack. so it can be like a support role.
Yeah.
And so it's fun. I mean, it's something that they can make it the same screen 2-player, but the camera only follows normal Knack. The camera does not behave differently with Robo Knack there. So if Knack turns a corner and then there's a hallway view, Robo Knack could be completely not even in a visible area. So it's definitely, there's so many ways in which that game, well, all the launch games feel so rushed. They obviously had to push that out the door as soon as they could. But I think that's it for my PlayStation 4 playing.
Well, is there anything important that happened last week?
Last week did something. I feel like there was something involving midnight release at
Microsoft did something?
Yeah, there's some sort of huge party in which you wait outside in a parking deck.
I think that was the Windows 8 service pack.
Yeah, Windows 8.1.
8.1, the release. All right, so let's talk about our experience.
We went down to Lenox Mall, and the underbelly of Atlanta commerce, and we had heard all about this midnight launch event at the Microsoft store. I mean, we're going to the Microsoft store. This is where it all happens.
We're going to the castle to watch the royal wedding.
We might as well be in Seattle.
Right.
We might as well be right where Microsoft, or Redmond, I guess, is where they are. And we get there, and they're like, yeah, we're just lining up in this parking deck. And so we're just waiting in line in a parking deck. This is their midnight event. And first of all, they overcomplicate the process entirely. I already had a pre-order. Johnny did not, but we had a pre-order at the GameStop that's in the same mall. So we're trying to figure out how we're going to manage that. But first we just go to the Microsoft store and I say I got a pre-order. So they hand me a green wristband. And then Johnny wants to see if he could get one of their extras, and they give you an orange wristband.
It was blue.
A blue wristband. And then people had yellow wristbands, I think were the rain checks.
Yeah.
So they were people that they would stop doing pre-orders, but if they asked, they could get a rain check. So those people got. And then orange just meant you were there to play in a tournament.
I think the blue technically was there for the tournament. Orange, I didn't know there was an orange wristband until they started calling out. If you have an orange wristband, we're like, wait, what does that mean?
I think that meant you want an Xbox if they have them.
I think, because I think I got an orange one at that point.
Yeah. So you had an orange and blue. I had a green and a blue. And blue is for tournament. And so they had despite their website saying that the Atlanta store will not have a Killer Instinct tournament. They're like, oh yeah, we're having a Killer Instinct tournament. And it was the most this is the extent of how well run this Killer Instinct tournament was. A 4-foot tall 16-year-old girl was writing names on a Sharpie on notebook paper, and then just playing survival. You play this person. If you win, you play the next person. If you win, you play the next person. So theoretically, if you were the last person and you just won once, you'd win the entire tournament. It wasn't even a bracket.
Which is quite possibly the worst way to do any kind of tournament ever.
But that was funny in of itself. And then so we finally get in the Microsoft store where there is pizza and the Coke. Tournament, some Coke, some warm Coke, and some gross pizza. But keep in mind, the midnight launch event for Gears of War 3 had more freebies and more hype than the Microsoft One console launch. People were like, Gears of War 3, yeah. They were excited, and they were giving out all sorts of stuff. Just the game was $25 off. There's huge discounts. They just were super excited about it. Xbox One, they just all couldn't give a shit.
And when we were still standing outside, because in case the chronology is a little ambiguous here, basically we showed up right before the mall shut down. We got our wristbands, and then we all had to go outside in the parking deck because I guess they were just shutting the mall down to get everybody out, which is fine. So we waited out in the parking deck for maybe 30 minutes to an hour, I guess.
Yeah, about an hour.
We got in line. and they started to hand out backpacks. We're like, oh yeah, here comes the cool Xbox swag. So they ran out of backpacks. He had like what, 20 backpacks?
20 backpacks, yeah. And there was probably 150, 200 people there.
Yeah. So they ran out of those, and was like, well, all right, well, we're done with that. So they all leave. Eventually, we did get to go inside, but even that was a little confusing because at first it was like, well, the pre-order people went in first, and then everybody else was standing outside, but then they let the rest of us in. They were still in line. It was just a weird cluster. And finally, they did come out because Travis had a pre-order, so he went ahead and went inside to do the Killer Instinct tournament. And so I and someone else was standing out waiting to see if I could get one. And then Lady did come out pretty quickly and said, hey, you know what? We don't have enough. So we just covered the pre-orders and had some of the rain checks, I think. So we, at that point, the line dispersed, and I went inside and hung out with what they did have. They had a cool 3D printer. I got a cool little blue rocket ship that says Skype on the side. My cat really likes to play with it. But yeah, it was very disappointing on the swag front.
Yeah,
I really expected there to be T-shirts. We did get T-shirts. I did get. Well, no, that wasn't from them. That wasn't from them. We'll get to that in a minute. But they didn't have hardly anything there.
Yeah. So finally, I realized I can go ahead and pay for my Xbox One before midnight, so that when it hits, then I can just grab my Xbox One and go home.
And it should be important to note here, real quick, that they didn't tell him ahead of time.
Yeah.
They just asked, did you pre-order? Here's your green band.
Yeah. So I go up to him and I'm like, hey, I haven't paid. I'll go ahead and pay. And he's like, well, you got a green band and you didn't pay? It's like, you get the green band when you pay. I'm like, I'm just telling you, I haven't paid. And so then I was like, am I going to get a free Xbox out of this?
No, I did pay. I'm sorry.
I totally paid.
I forgot.
And then the guy's like, well, let me go look. And so he's like, well, the number on your wristband doesn't match any numbers of Xbox Ones that we have set aside. And I was like, well, I haven't paid. And he's like, well, let me give you a new green wristband. And so this is literally one line item on this transaction. Xbox One, swipe my card, we're done. And it took him 15 minutes of messing around with his PDA and trying to get it. It's like, I don't see how that process could be that complicated. I mean, maybe they did give me a free 3 months of Xbox Live for being there on day one to purchase their console, which that's I don't know. I feel like they could have done a little bit better than that. But then, so I prepaid, and at this time it's like 11 or 11:15 or something, and well, they don't have any extras, so let's go to see the one. Let's go to the GameStop to get the one you pre-ordered, or at least to prepay for that one. And it is the most dead GameStop. There's 6 people there, sitting Indian style inside the store, just waiting. And we go up and yeah, I'll let's pay for the pre-order or whatever. And then they're handing out T-shirts and keychains and Cracker Jack and all this extras, and it's GameStop is trying harder than Microsoft.
Which is sad on so many levels. This is your flagship. This is the Xbox One. And you've got 20 backpacks to hand out. And they're well, that's all we got at the Microsoft store. And
in Times Square, the first 2,000 people that bought an Xbox One got 2 free games in a year of Xbox Live.
Yeah.
It's well, why not spread that out a little bit to the other Microsoft stores instead of Atlanta's Microsoft store completely phoning it in? I mean, there was more excitement for Gears of War 3. Halo Anniversary Edition, which was a re-release of the original Halo, had a bigger launch event than the Xbox One at the Atlanta Microsoft store. I mean, this is just based on what we experienced in Atlanta. I mean, for all we know, the other Microsoft stores did a great job. It could just be that the management there did a poor job, but it was kind of surprising.
Let's talk about the incredibly grueling process we had to go through to get our Xbox at the GameStop. Well, we got a number, and then after midnight, they came through. We were ordered in line.
Even before midnight, they got us in order.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, we had paid and everything. So they gave us our number, and right before midnight, we lined up in order, and they took us in order, and we picked up our Xboxes and left.
Difficult.
Oh, it was horribly confusing.
Compared to the completely simple, obvious obviously better process of everybody just pile up in a circle with no rhyme or reason, and at the Microsoft store they just called out numbers on a megaphone, and people would have to like get up there slowly and get their Xbox. So obviously GameStop had less Xboxes to sell. They had like 14 or 15 total,
somewhere in there. Yeah. So
we got our you got your Xbox in a matter of like 3 minutes.
Yeah, it was very quick.
Quick, we got it. We got out of there.
And I got a cool T-shirt and some Cracker Jacks
and a keychain. It was just
it
was. We got all the freebies there. And then at the Microsoft store, it took me 45 minutes before they called my number before I could go home, even though I had already prepaid. I mean, it was just a matter of matching a number to a number. And they were just doing it like they would bring a batch from the back and then call out a number and then wait and call out a number. And it was poorly done.
Yeah, it's like it's amazing. Like, let's contrast to my Best Buy experience, right? I mean, Best Buy, you generally think, oh god, Best Buy. They were pretty damn organized. They had but when I did the midnight launch thing, and Travis did for a little while, where when I got there, I got for the PS4 release. Obviously, I got to Best Buy probably 6 o'clock. I think it was. They had a sign up that said, "If you're here for the PS4, line up here." There was like 4 people there ahead of me, so I plopped down with my chairs and blanket and my I forgot my slanket at home, unfortunately. Which, if you're not familiar, slanket is a superior form of the Snuggie, but you should definitely check it out. So we sat there. We didn't know how many they got. Why they couldn't tell us how many they got, I don't know. And this line, by the way, was specifically for people who did not pre-order, because I didn't pre-order one at Best Buy. This was just for people who were trying to get one on release who didn't pre-order. They had a separate section for a line for people who did pre-order, but obviously the people who pre-ordered didn't get there 6 hours early because they're not insane. So we're just sitting there, and the employees come out once in a while to make sure things are, pretty smooth, nothing's going crazy, nobody's getting stabbed. At some point, a actual PlayStation representative or PR person or whatever comes by. He gives everybody that was in line at the time, he gave us a lanyard that said PS4. He gave us a PS4 bag. He gave us all a card for, I think, 1 free month of PSN. Or PS Plus. I always call it PSN Plus, but PS Plus. And the crowning jewel of the swag was the Assassin's Creed football. I don't quite understand what Assassin's Creed...
I think we just haven't got there in the story yet.
Yeah, apparently, no spoilers, but apparently your character in Assassin's Creed founds football. Mm-hmm. But anyways, but at least it was, it was cool to get all this stuff, and get hyped for it. So anyway, and they were also very informative. They made sure to come out, and any people they told what was going on. They told everybody how it was going to go down. So around 10 o'clock, they came. They processed the people who had lined up for pre-order, which was like 3 people. Which, even then, why did you get here at 10 o'clock if you stand in the cold if you have a pre-order? But they handled those folks first, which makes sense. Then they came to us. And we all came in order, because they'd given us paperwork ahead of time, so they knew what number we were and all that. So there'd be no rushing to the front, no craziness. They took us in order. We picked what games we wanted. We picked any accessories that we wanted.
And they probably pushed those accessories.
Oh, yes.
Every midnight lunch I've been to at Best Buy. Like, I went to Diablo 3, it picked up my collector's edition, and they're like, "You want some gaming glasses?
Get some gunners, baby."
Yeah, get some gunners. It's like, I'm fine.
No, I'm cool.
Yeah.
But so we picked up the games and our accessories. We paid for our thing. We got a receipt, and they're like, make sure you bring this back when you come pick it up. We were allowed to leave. So me and Sarah, not his wife, but the girl I'm dating, who is confusingly also called Sarah. She's called
She's
Sarah.
Not named Sarah.
She's called Sarah because that's her name. Oddly enough, funny how that works. So we ended up going to IHOP and coming back like a few minutes before midnight, so we didn't have to stand out in the cold. Got right back in line, and once midnight hit, we walked in the store. We had an orderly line. And we walked up, gave the guy a receipt, had our number on it. He turned around. There was like a whole bunch of PS4s. He'd find our number, grab it, hand it to us, and we walked right out. I mean, it was as smooth of a launch as you could possibly have set up, which was complete contrast.
Yeah. And I guess it does make sense because the Microsoft Store is not really like Best Buy and GameStop are established retailers that have chains of command that they take care of all this crap. They know what they're doing. They've handled iPad launch events, multiple console launch events. The Microsoft Store, they're just thrown together as a promotional extension of an existing
But
company.
they've handled multiple midnight releases before.
Yeah.
Like, if this was their first one, I would be like, okay, maybe this is kind of growing pains. But they, as you said, they've had the Gears of War.
Yeah.
They had the Halo. I'm sure they did Halo 4.
Yep.
And probably ones that we're not even thinking about.
Yeah.
So they've handled this type of thing before, and you have to think somebody, at least one somebody at Microsoft was in charge of handling the midnight releases for the Microsoft Store.
Yeah.
Surely. Like, they just weren't like, do whatever you want.
They haven't released a console in, 8 years now?
Yeah.
And it's like, just put this together, whatever.
Especially given the bad press that they've gotten up until this point and continue to get. You think they're like, all right, let's knock this out of the park. Let's blow their minds with this release.
That's what I was hoping would happen. I was like, man, we're going to the Microsoft Store. This should be fun. And
they're going to be...
It was tepid.
Somebody's going to be dressed up as Clippy dancing around. Yeah. This is going to be amazing.
Microsoft Bob will be there in a dunking booth.
We'll all get free copies of, like, Office and all that stuff. No, like, they're just like, we run out of backpacks.
Sorry, we had 20. You should have been here earlier.
Here's a 3D printed little rocket that says Skype on the side that your cat can play with. But, it was just disappointing.
And kind of surprising,
levels.
too. It's just kind of like, oh, okay.
It's surprising to me because they've done so badly at this point, and because they did reverse so many of their stupid decisions that they wanted to do. I thought, okay, they're starting to get it now. Like, maybe somebody who was responsible for the dumb stuff is fired, and
they're going to try harder to make up for it.
And they're still like, ugh.
Yeah,
it's just like the Microsoft Store. Like,
you got to come out of the gate strong, man.
Especially when your competitor just came out a week before you did, and they're totally nailing it.
Yeah,
I mean, look at this other stuff too. Like, the PlayStation 4 came with. Not even including the swag stuff. I think it came with a free month of PSN Plus.
Yep.
It came with $10 for the store thing and a free month of the play music. And, whether you really care about the music thing or not, it still came with a free month of it to try it out.
Microsoft has their own music service that no one subscribes to, and they didn't include a free month. Yeah,
they didn't have an Xbox. They didn't have a free month of Xbox Live. Unless the day ones had them.
No, I think it was a free 14 days. You had a free. I think it's 14 days that comes with the console.
See, and that's just 14
but
days.
That doesn't include any free games like PS Plus does. PS Plus included Resogun and Contrast, which Resogun's good. Contrast is pretty janky, but there's still 2 free games,
and they're recent as well.
I guess isn't the fitness thing, is that free?
Yeah, if you have Xbox Live Gold, most of it's free. Now, I started fiddling with that a bit. I haven't done anything yet.
Microtransactions?
I don't understand is the answer to that question.
Okay.
Because I was looking through, and most of them say free with Xbox Live Gold, free with Xbox Live Gold. But some of them will say like $9.99. But then right below it say free workout. I'm like, what? I'm like, how is it free workout if it's $9.99?
Well, once you buy it, it's free.
yeah, exactly. One of those things.
Just buy
Once you pay for it,
it's free.
It's good. You're good to pay
go
for it to have it. So it's not one of those pay to it, buy it, so that you now have the right to buy it. Again,
yeah, exactly.
We'll talk about that in a bit.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, it's just I do think that's really cool. I'm a fat ass, and I totally think I could get into this Xbox Fitness thing because it has.
I haven't even tried it out yet.
I haven't tried it. I mean, I poked around with it just looking, but I haven't tried any of the exercises yet. But in theory, I think it sounds really cool, and I watched a video of someone doing it. One of my big issues, other than just being insanely lazy and hating exercise, is that even when I'm watching a video, it feels like I'm not doing the exercises correctly. It feels like I'm doing them wrong. and I probably am doing them wrong. But with the Kinect, it'll actually, you're not picking your feet up high enough, or you're doing jumping jacks, you need to move your arms differently or whatever. So I think that's really cool that they give you that feedback, and they have that thing where you get like achievements. I looked at some of like the mini achievements. They don't call them achievements, they call them something else. But
challenges. Yeah,
challenges like complete this workout and keep 5 stars for half of it, or something like that.
I think challenges are basically achievements with no gamer score.
Right. It adds to your workout score.
Okay.
But it doesn't add to like your gamer score.
Yeah.
So, and it keeps track over time of your scores, just, so you can see improvement. I think that's really, really smart way to do it, because if you can actually see your progress, because realistically you're not going to work out for a week and lose 10 pounds, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the hardest things about dieting and losing weight is you might see some progress at first, like you'll lose that water weight, but afterwards, you work out, you eat well, and you lose like a pound in 2 weeks, and it's very discouraging. I speak from experience. So I think if you see even like a digital version of that, seeing your score go up, even just a little bit, you're like, okay, yeah, like I'm getting better. I'm obviously doing better at these exercises. I'm nailing them. I'm doing them longer. So I think this actually can help people who want to get more fit, but they, like me, they lose motivation, or again they're unsure of themselves because they don't feel like they're doing the workouts correctly. So I think the Xbox Fitness thing is great. In fact, it's one of the reasons I wanted Xbox One. Believe it or not, people joked about it, but then especially once I saw somebody doing a video of it, I was like, wow, that's actually really, really cool. I like that. And apparently you can measure your beats per minute somehow. Like, I guess it's, I don't know. It was magic, the Kinect magic. But yeah, it's... by the way, my Xbox is turned itself on because we keep saying Xbox.
Xbox, turn on.
Xbox.
Yes.
It'll just turn itself right back on in a minute.
Yep.
But
you want to play Xbox, huh? I hear you guys are talking about me.
Yeah, I know you guys are thinking about me right now.
I think, but yeah. So in all fairness, they did provide a free game, but on a whole, PlayStation 4 just comes with more, and they still got that $100 price difference. So
yeah,
it's I said it before, but they really are. They're trying to sell different things, like they have different strategies. So there's a bigger appeal for the Xbox One for somebody who is really big into like live cable TV and hooking that up and integrating their television in with their gaming. But from a game playing perspective, and that's why we're here, the PlayStation 4 offered more at launch day, I think. And
I think it's just another way is just showing that they're willing to go that extra mile. Sony is, again, the free month of PSN Plus, the $10 credit on their store. Mm-hmm. I mean, it just shows that they're like, hey, you know what? Here's some bonuses you didn't expect. We're throwing this in here totally free of charge so you can try these services out, which is, I think, great. And Xbox just seems to be half-assing it. They're just like, you should probably get Xbox Live. I mean...
Yeah, and they had PlayStation 4 had 2 cross-buy titles available at launch too. So if you had a PlayStation 3 and you had already purchased Sound Shapes or Flower, it was just another thing you had. So they had a lot of downloadable only titles, where I feel like Xbox One, I need to go through the store, but the only downloadable only things I saw were Crimson Dragon and Killer Instinct. Can you think of anything else? I guess the fitness is downloadable.
Yeah.
But besides from those 3,
I consider the fitness thing to be its own total separate thing. Like it's
like an app.
Yeah, it's an app, and then you open the app, and it has like a billion different, like Jillian Michaels and Tony Hortons and Insanity, and all those are just kind of split up.
Yeah.
So I do consider it totally separate. So let's talk about our time with the Kinect. What have you played, or with the Xbox One? What have you played so far?
Well, I have played a good amount. Not as much as I'd like to, but I've played some Killer Instinct, and I've gone through the first few portions of the dojo, which are really cool because there's a lot of fighting game fundamentals that kind of explains. I had one guy in the office kind of take interest to it, and I was basically explaining to him, like, mix-ups and crossovers and fighting game concepts that, it's kind of cool because it's like when I'm not just teaching this thing about Killer Instinct. You're teaching this thing about fighting games in general. So it was kind of cool when it clicked in him. It's like, oh, so now I understand that for all fighting games.
Yeah.
And I feel like aside from Skullgirls, there hasn't been many fighting games that like teach fighting game concepts that are core, you know, across the genre. It's just kind of been, here is how you move, here is how you jump, here are what the buttons do, and find out the rest from talking to your friends. You know?
Yeah, or reading forums and watching YouTube videos,
which was fun. I mean, back in the day when Street Fighter 2 was first out, and you'd have that social element of going to the arcade and like, yeah, if you do this, this happens. If you do this, this happens. And I just remember having my friends explain things to me, just having that, oh, it felt kind of like you were part of this like club and you understood these things, you know. Or it's kind of like some of the unlockables in NBA Jam you'd find at the arcade where it was fun. But anyway, it's cool that the dojo not only explains the genre specifics well, but then it also jumps into openers and linkers and enders and, you know, how important those enders are, because, you know, as you're performing a combo, there's a white portion of the energy bar that starts growing. And if you hit that ender, you take off that from your opponent's health. But if you don't hit that ender, you don't get that extra. So an unended combo is much less effective than a completed combo. So I went through some of that stuff and I played survival a bit, and I don't know, I've earned some of the KI tokens or whatever the in-game currency is. Yeah. And at first I was like, oh, okay, well, this is their in-game currency, but I couldn't even find a way to buy it. So I'm pretty sure that you only can unlock those things by earning those in-game. So that I don't have a problem with that. But it doesn't really do, in my opinion, a clear job. I guess everything is pretty much cosmetic. I mean, I think so. You start out and, you know, there's titles and there's profile banners and then there's costumes and then there's props, I guess, different weapons you have. And I think it's all 100% cosmetic. Almost
positive, because if it wasn't, like, it would not be taken seriously by the fighting game community. If you could just, like, even with quote unquote fake points, it would be silly to say, oh, well, now I have these claws on Saberwolf that do extra damage. I think it would have to be basically free, like right at the beginning. It would have to be a tactical choice, not I grinded out this much, and now I've earned the right to have these claws. And they've done a pretty good job of courting the, you know, the people in the fighting game community that have followers on Twitter and stuff. They basically flew them into Redmond for this big tournament. So there's a lot of people in the fighting game community tweeting positive things about Killer Instinct. I mean, it's definitely they're definitely trying to keep it balanced, and they're aiming to keep that community interested in it. I just don't know if it has enough depth to be still played in a couple years. Right. I mean, I see it. It's going to be at all the tournaments this year. It's going to be all the tournaments next year. But are people going to still be interested in Killer Instinct in 3 years? Right. So that, I think, remains to be seen. But yeah, I've had fun with that. So would you say, so you've played both Skullgirls and this. Which one, would you say one has a better tutorial than the other, or are they pretty equal? I think Skullgirls has a better tutorial for fighting games in general, because there's more kind of the whole 6-button fighter like approach to certain things. Skullgirls is closer to like what a lot of things everything has, but there's some things that Killer Instinct is more heavily into combos and, you know, there's more mechanics that are specifically Killer Instinct, whereas Skullgirls, most of the mechanics aren't as unique to it. I mean, there are unique mechanics in Skullgirls, but I think Skullgirls is still the best way to get into it, because Killer Instinct wants to teach you those things, but it wants to quickly get to the combo system. And, you know,
perform this specific combo, and it gets tough pretty quickly. I mean, it accelerates after you get through the basics. Whereas I think I haven't done. I'm not sure about this, so I don't remember if the dojo only works with Jago or if I just did it with Jago.
As far as I can tell, it only Jago, because I started playing the free version, and I intended to buy it, but I was just going to mess with Jago just to fiddle with it. So I got pretty good ways into the thing, and it started when it got to the part where I needed to do combos. I'm doing, of course, Jago specific combos. So I started thinking, well, I kind of want to learn as Saber Wolf, or as the spider lady whose name I just totally forgot.
I know who you're talking about, but I don't remember it.
Sadira?
Yeah.
So I went ahead, I went and bought it. I bought the $20 version. And I want to talk, before we move on to another game, I definitely want to talk about the pricing scheme again. But I bought it and went back to the dojo, and I didn't see any way to switch characters, which kind of makes sense because the tutorial does seem to be specific to Jago. Like, it talks about, this is his anti-air, right? So I think it was specifically, which is fine. I don't expect them to do it for every single character. That'd be great, but I can understand why they wouldn't have. And I'm through. It's the dojo split into two parts. I think, like the beginner stuff and then advanced, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think I've only just started the advanced. Maybe I'm 1 or 2 in, and I agree. I really like the tutorial. I didn't keep up with any of the stuff about linkers and openers and finishers. I didn't keep up with any of that stuff until release. Yeah. So this was like totally. I heard about them, but I didn't know what they were. Mm-hmm. So when I started the dojo, I was starting with a clean slate for the most part. I played Killer Instinct 1 and 2 like way back in the day. I was never that big into them, but all of the stuff is still new anyway. So I felt like I really was learning. This is how you play the game, and I did play online a little bit. I played a few matches. I won some, I lost some. Most people are kind of crappy right now. So there's 2 crappy people beating each other up, and not understanding how the mechanics work, and randomly just trying combo breakers. Mm-hmm. But it's been a lot of fun. I really enjoy it so far. I'm not crazy about the idea of having to unlock stages with the AI
so
coins.
When you start out and you want to play against your friends, you get one stage, and it's like, can I just have a different stage, or even choose is random available? But I'm not crazy about that. But I really like some of the unlockables, like the accessories, the cosmetic accessories. Look really, really cool, and I like that it's not just points. I think some of them you have to do X. You have to unlock the ability to buy them.
I like that. In this context, I like the idea that you have to beat X number of people online, or you have to reach this level, because not only are you just buying it with the coins you've naturally accumulated, you have to have reached this.
You have to have performed a specific feat. Right.
You have to have this much experience, or you have to be theoretically this good, depending on what the requirement is, to be able to wear that kind of as a badge of honor. Like you have to beat, 5 people or 10 people or 100 people online to unlock this headgear. So if you wear that, the guy, he's beat at least 100 people, which, 5 months from now, that's not going to be difficult if you've played a lot. But you kind of get what I'm saying. I like that gateway to buying things with the in-game currency. And so far, I've been playing Saber Wolf and Sadira. I will say her timing seemed a bit odd to me. Mm-hmm. Like with Saber Wolf and Jago, pretty much I would do a special, and then I could immediately hit the linker, and it would be done. But Sadira, you can't do that. You have to wait a little bit. Yeah. So there is a little bit more timing aspect, which is interesting. I don't have a problem with that.
I think some of her linkers and stuff take a little bit longer because there's a little more animation to her webcasting and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. She's definitely a very interesting character. I like her so far. That's the character I want to be focus my time on. But I also like Saber Wolf. I always like Saber Wolf. But let's talk about the pricing scheme. They get a lot of crap for the pricing scheme. Yeah. And initially, and part of that I understand why, because it's confusing. Yeah. I don't think they explained it very well. It seems to be a consistent problem with Microsoft with this launch. And just as a brief refresher, if you don't know, you can download and play the game for free right now. Well, if you have an Xbox One, you get Jago as a free character. You can do the dojo. You can do, there's no single player campaign currently. Now you can practice against the AI. You can fight against the AI, and there's other little things
survival.
you can do. Yeah, there's survival that you just, fight a bunch of people in, or CPU controlled characters, and you can play online with Jago. So if you don't spend a dime, you get access to all that just as Jago.
If you have Xbox Live Gold, you can play.
Yeah, Xbox. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. If you have Xbox Live Gold, so can you download it free if you just have Xbox and not play online?
I don't know about that one.
That I'm not sure on.
Yeah.
Regardless, you do get a pretty decent amount for not paying. So at least you learn, is this a game I'm really going to be into? And they have said they plan to change the free character from time to time. I don't know how often. Yeah. So maybe like in a month, Saberwolf will be the free character. Yeah. And then after that, then maybe Glacius. But if you decide, what, I like this game, but I don't like Jago. I really want to learn Glacius. Well, you can purchase Glacius for $5, and you get access to everything Glacius. His endurance mode, not his dojo. Only Jago has dojo, but his everything else. You can play Glacius online for $5 if you're just interested in that one character. But if you're like, what, I want like all the characters, that's $20. For all the characters. That's including the ones now and then 2 more that they're going to release.
Yep, Season 1 characters is what they call them.
Okay, and we have Spinal is coming, the skeleton guy, and Fulgore.
Yeah.
I think is all but been confirmed.
I think he's been in all the stuff, but he hasn't been officially confirmed.
Yeah, I would be very, very surprised if Fulgore was not the character. But back to the pricing scheme in general. People have complained about it, the scheme itself. I will agree that they did a poor job of explaining it. But I think the system itself is really, really good. You get to try the game enough that I think you'll learn, is this worth spending any money on? For no cost, other than Xbox Live Gold, which I guess I won't really count. But you learn enough to know if you're going to like the game for nothing. And then if you are the type of person who's like, I'm going to play this character and no other characters, you get the game for $5. You get everything you want for $5. And I think they are going to release a campaign mode later. So you could play, if they let you play the campaign mode with that character, which they probably will, then
after you buy it.
Yeah, after you buy it.
Yeah, they're not going to put out free content though, I don't think. It's like when they come up with campaign mode or story mode, it is going to be something that they can sell again. I had heard that they were going to do that. Maybe not, though. I could be misremembering. I haven't heard either way. That's just based on my assumption that they would not give something for free.
Okay. Well, even without that, you still get a good chunk for $5. And if you're like, what, I don't know which character I want, so I'm just going to buy the whole thing. Or, once you buy more than 2 characters, at that point, it's like $5 a character. If I buy 3 characters, it's $15 for one. For $5 more, I get all the characters. So it's kind of silly to not. I think if you're going to buy 3 characters, just buy the whole damn game. Even 2 characters is like, unless you're just super strapped for money and you just know 100% sure you're only interested in 2 specific characters, then I would still go ahead and get the whole thing. But $20 for the entire game. I feel
like once you buy, if you do end up buying like 4 characters, then that at the point in which you spent $20 on characters, they should say, okay, you got the $20 version, you spent $20. But at that point, if you bought 3 characters, you can't just spend 5 and get all the characters. You'd have to spend 20 additional. So I feel like they kind of like make it so. I mean, it's a pricing scheme, and like at my work, we have these A/B tests on. We change the price of our service, and so we offer a service for monthly or for 3 months, 6 months, and a year, and we have different price points for each one. And the idea is to make the prices of the monthly and the 3 month look so expensive that they're like, oh well, it's only $5 a month if I prepay for a year at a time, and so the whole like $5 per character is just a way for you to think, yeah, I could get that $5 character, but it's such a bad deal, I might as well just get the $20 one.
Yeah.
So it's a way to use psychology to get them to buy the full version. But then there's also the Ultra version, which is the $40 version, which comes with the original Killer Instinct, a bunch of cosmetic items. And then there's the penultimate edition, which is the $60 version, which comes with Penny Arcade pins that you can only buy at the Microsoft store. So they've really like sliced it up as many ways as they possibly can.
Honestly, I keep forgetting about the $60 version.
Yeah.
I don't even think about it. But I know the pins are a thing. There's a lot of people who are into the pin thing. So, if you want the pin, you have to go that route. And if you want the original Killer Instinct, you also have to go that route. Now, I think that is dumb. I think them not giving you the option to just buy the original Killer Instinct separate is dumb.
Yeah.
I do think that's just scheme. I don't think they didn't think about it.
That is scheme.
I think they were like, well, we could cut it out and charge $5 to $10 for it. But I think if there's that many people interested, they will pay the $20 and they'll get these and the person buying it will justify it and say, well, I'm paying $20 to get Killer Instinct, the original, but I'm getting all these cool little trinkets and stuff too. So overall, it's worth it. So I think, and the trinkets and whatnot, are probably not going to sell with real money anyway.
Yeah.
So I think they saw that as a way to squeeze a bit more money out, because overall, if they did split Killer Instinct out and sold it for $5 to $10, they probably wouldn't make as much money as people who would buy the whole thing for $20. So that feels a little gross to me. Not a bit. I guess I'm not that offended by it because I don't really care.
I mean, it is definitely more experimentation than straight up scheming. I think we'll get to it, but I think other titles are more scheming than experimentation.
I can't think of any.
Yeah,
but I don't get the negativity towards their pricing scheme. For the most part.
I get the negativity in terms of it's confusing,
right? Yes,
and it's hiding the fact that it's not really a finished game. Like, it's unfinished. They don't have a story mode. It is a slice of a finished game, but they're selling slices. So it's sliced up both in the monetization and the completion of the game. And so I can see if people just kind of like, just wait till it's ready and sell it to me as one big chunk, But that's just, they set up all these new systems to sell bundles and products in different ways, and so they just want to see what works. This all in the early adopter phase of the Xbox One. There's so much monetization experimentation going on right now that it's kind of like I can see, or I personally feel like I'm a guinea pig. It's like, all right, like, well, now I have to put up with this crap so you can figure out what makes the most money.
Well, I think even Microsoft made a statement.
Yeah, they've publicly said that they're experimenting.
Yeah, to see, basically they didn't say it like this, obviously, but they're seeing what people will tolerate and what people will just suck it up and buy. And
it's I don't know, maybe this is what happens every console generation with Microsoft, because you remember Horse Armor?
Yeah. Well, that wasn't even them. That was Bethesda, and you can thank those assholes for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. We'll see. My concern is that there's enough. Let's not say dumb people. Let's say people who are a little too willing to just pay $5 extra for, that headdress, or make my horse look a little bit shinier. I mean, WoW has kind of proven that. I mean, look how many people you see in WoW. I haven't played in a while, but when I played again with Myst, I saw lots of people running around with mounts that you had to pay with real money. I'm like, people paid $5, $10 for a mount in the game?
Some of those, I mean, like, I'm not justifying it, but some of those mounts, that money goes to charity. So that's, I feel like Blizzard does a really good job of saying straight up, like, hey, we made these digital cosmetic things, and 100% of it goes to charity. So that's cool. But yeah, you do see people where the money went straight to Blizzard's pocket. So
yeah, and so I'm afraid that there's enough people out there that will spend that money, so that future games were like, well, we would put this in the game as part of the purchase price, but we're going to cut it out and then charge you $5 extra for it. But overall, the Killer Instinct thing, again, I think their pricing scheme is very fair. I think it's great that you can, at a minimum of $5, you can get into it, you can play online. And I think this works very well for fighting games too, because the story mode doesn't really matter. I mean, nobody cares too much. It's almost exclusively to fight online or play with your friends. It's going against the computer gets boring really, really fast. It's all about the multiplayer, whether it's local or online. And if you can access that for, again, low price of $5 or even $20, which is, again, really low, then I think you're getting a really good deal. And I think complaining that they did it that way particularly is kind of silly. But
I think it's fair but complicated.
Yeah, I think the thing is, it's not even complicated. It's not even complicated. The way they've addressed it is complicated. It's basically, it's free to play with Jago.
Yeah.
If you want all the characters, it's $20. If you want individual characters, it's $5. And if you want the Killer Instinct original plus the, any like some adornments, then it's $40.
But that's still relatively complicated, because it's like the alternative is it's $20. Like, that's how simple it could have been. And so I wouldn't say it's super complicated. Like, you don't have to get a chalkboard out to explain it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it requires multiple sentences of explanation to get to the point where it's like, okay, I understand how much that game cost. Because it used to be the question, how much does that thing cost? Was $20, $30. And now, how much does that thing cost? Like, well, it depends. And then you have to, understand the structure. So I wouldn't say it's terribly complicated, but to a lot of people, I think there's a lot of people that are going to buy and not understand what they're buying. It's just like, they don't know all the choices. They just see what they buy. And probably somebody's going to buy a character not knowing that they had the choice to buy all the characters for $20.
Yeah. And I think the main confusion I saw too was not understanding the difference between the $20 and a $40 version, because I hear some people say, oh, you have to buy the $40 version to get all the characters, but then some people say, no, you don't. So I think they should have made that crystal clear. Is that to get the game and all the characters that are out with quote unquote season 1, $20. Like, underline that, put a stamp on it, like, make sure that's very clear. But say you have the option of buying just one character for $5.
And see, I had thought that the $20 version included all the launch characters, and the $40 version included all the launch characters plus the season 1 characters.
And I think that's a failing on their part not to make that more clear. But I think that's probably enough Killer Instinct. Combo breaker. I need to throw that sound effect in there somewhere. So what else have you been playing on Xbox One?
Well, there's a little racing game I've been playing called Forza Motorsport 5. And it has been an interesting experience, because when it first of all, I didn't buy an Xbox One myself, but luckily I work at a place where my boss, enough of us played the 360 in the break room, and my boss is like, let's get one of those Xbox Ones for the office. And we were like, sweet. So I get to play around with it and play games on it, and I didn't have to foot the $500 bill. Forza is a game that I've been playing since Forza 3. And I've played Forza Horizon, so I love that series. I love the way it works. I love the career progression, and I love how discreetly intuitive each different car is. Each car is like a puzzle to learn how it behaves, how it accelerates, how it handles. And the game does an excellent job of providing the feedback to you so that you can understand how you can accelerate, how you can get better at operating that car. The underlying gameplay of Forza 5 is still there, and it's awesome. I mean, it does look better. It's on the next gen system. The cars are awesome, and they operate extremely well. But I guess before I launch into this, I want to preface this by saying that I understand that video games are a business, and they're out there to make money. And so I'm not coming from a standpoint of being so altruistic as just, give me everything for $60. Like, I understand that there's money to be made, and then there are people that their job is basically just revenue optimization, and they're finding the ways to make the most money. I understand it, but I can still not like it. Like, that is my prerogative to just be like, I don't like that. I know what they're doing. So here's the deal with Forza 5. And this is really kind of an evolution of where Forza was with Forza 4. Forza 4 started to get a little gross with its monetization. And there's basically 3 ways that publishers or developers make money off of video games. There is the initial purchase, the entry price, how much the game costs. So for a retail game, $60. For downloadable, $15, $20. And then there's DLC, which is content add-ons. So that can be anywhere from, $5 to $20. And then there is in-game currency that you can buy to have that currency to spend with real money or to earn it within the game. You can spend that money within the game. The problem is that Forza employs every method of optimization or every method of monetization they can. Like, they're like kind of triple dipping. So you go and you get $60, and a further complication to the DLC model is that now they're starting to bundle future DLC that hasn't been made yet into season passes.
Yeah.
So I could spend $80 on the limited edition, like the collector's edition of Forza. I could spend $50 on the season pass. All right, I'm $130 in. And then once I have those cars from the DLC, I am buying the ability to buy them in game. So I don't buy the cars and I have them in my garage. I now have the ability to buy them with in-game credits or tokens to get the car. And you can earn credits are basically just like money. Tokens are like the fake money that you can buy with real money.
So what's the difference between credits and tokens? Like, how do you earn those in game? Like,
credits can only be earned within game. Mm-hmm. Tokens can be earned in game, or actually no, I'm wrong about that. Credits can be earned in game. Tokens are earned either by special redemptions for, like, when you get the day 1 edition, which I accidentally spent my tokens on XP boost because it kept prompting me to, and I pressed the wrong button. So geez. Fuck you, Microsoft. So you get 100 tokens, I think, for the day 1 edition. You get 1250 tokens for the limited edition, which they say is a $9.99 value. So tokens are what you buy with real money. Credits are what you earn in game, and you can use either to buy cars. Now, the way it used, that's nothing new, really. Like, Forza 4 had that. The problem is that Forza 4 had an excellent career progression where you were getting cars all the time. You'd level up, you'd get a free car, just a random car. You'd get manufacturer affinity. You'd get discounts on cars. It was easy to come across cars, and there was a ton of cars in the game. Forza 5, they cut out the tracks, they cut out the cars, and they made progression slower so that you were grinding to get cars, and you'd want to spend, they're continually prompting you to buy tokens with real money. So they are clearly making design decisions to increase their monetization, and it's really gross, in my opinion. I mean, I know everybody keeps saying, like, why are you all bitching about it? Like, you can earn in game or whatever, but it's like, here's what it gets down to. This is the first game to offer open wheel racing, like Formula 1 cars. And so Microsoft has been touting, like, look at this. They've been using the Lotus E21 as this car to show off how awesome the game is. But the fact of the matter is that car costs 10,000 tokens. So if you want to buy that car outright, you're spending over $100 for that one car.
How long, to get an idea for those of us who've never played those games, because even those of us out there who are interested in this type of game, I think this is still a very interesting topic. Yeah, because it's definitely a way I don't want the industry to go on in other genres. But how long would you say it would take you? Let's say you really wanted that car. Yeah, like you said 10,000 tokens. Let's say you really wanted that, and you were going to spend your tokens on anything else. Yeah. How long do you think it would take you to save up that 10,000 without spending any money?
Well, if you want to save up, then you're talking credits. because tokens you get from money and credits you get from in-game.
Okay, so tokens you can't get in-game at all.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't. I think you can get them by redeeming your day one edition or by your collector's edition.
Okay.
You get tokens, but then after that you have to buy them. But if you want to save up credits, it's like kind of like the most optimum way to get credits is to do the most profitable race over and over and over again. So you basically have to gold farm.
Yeah.
If you gold farm for like 50 or 60 hours, I think you can get that car.
50 or 60 hours.
That's for what people are estimating on forums. And to put it with a grain of salt, the people that are coming up with these estimates are bitter about this thing. So they could be, the people that are calculating this number aren't happy with the way things are. So that might be a pretty high number.
Right.
I personally didn't come up with that number. I just wanted to put that caveat there. But if you go through the career mode, you could probably save up and get this car. What I think what Forza was really going for is that they do want elite luxury cars to feel special.
Yeah.
They want it so that you earn that car. And I understand that. And that's the way things were. You couldn't just buy these cars. You had to earn them in game. When you see somebody playing in these cars online, it was like, that guy's got that special car, The problem is that Forza 4 had a really good compromise in that there was a free drive mode where you could test drive any car in the game, whether or not it was in your garage.
Yeah.
You could play it. You couldn't play it online. You couldn't make any upgrades. You couldn't play it in your career. You just basically did a free race with any car. And it was cool because you got to try out a car. They scrapped that in Forza 5 as well. So they're clearly making decisions in order to really push the monetization of tokens. And they want you to buy tokens. And then on top of that, they've been kind of dishonest in their messaging. Because when they basically, if you look at the bullet points of the limited edition, it says, comes with 1250 tokens that you can use to buy any car on launch day. Or it said, you'll be able to unlock any car on day one. So somewhere the plan was that no car would cost more than 1250 tokens. Mm-hmm. But the Lotus E21 is 10,000 tokens. So things were pretty tense with them. And I guess my first problem I had is that I read a lot of reviews about this, and some people mentioned that there were microtransactions, but nobody's gone in depth as to contrast how the progression was gimped from Forza 4, from Forza 5, and so that they're clearly making a play at this extra monetization that was there in Forza 4. You could buy tokens in Forza 4, but it was everybody pretty much liked it because it was a good balance. It didn't take a lot of farming to get the car you wanted. You could put in the time and you could buy the car you wanted, and it wasn't a big deal. But since they've cut tracks, there's less tracks to play, and so it's more grindy, and they don't give you free cars between level up. So you have to spend all your credits on buying cars that you need to continue your career. So I didn't see any reviews that talked about that in depth. And they had a short amount of time to review this, but it's like there were 9s getting passed out. There's a lot of the general consensus is that this was an exceptional game. And I think there was a lot of things that were left out of it that once you dig deep, there's subtle negative elements of this game that weren't discussed, I think.
So why do you think that happened? The high reviews? Do you think omitting silly conspiracy theory nonsense?
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe they were given tokens? Sometimes as if I review a game or anyone reviews a game that has microtransactions, sometimes they'll say, hey, here's X number of tokens so you can try out, some of the microtransactions. So you think maybe that was the case?
It could be. I mean, I know that Cheapy D was tweeting at Arthur Gies about it, who's the Polygon reviewer.
Yeah.
And Cheapy D was, first of all, one of the only people I've heard that's pissed off about this too, because he's a big fan, and he was complaining about it. He boycotted it, so he's like, I'm not buying that game. And if I had known about it before I bought that game, before I bought Forza, I probably would have not bought it. As just because that's ultimately how you vote in this matter.
Yes, absolutely.
You vote with your wallet. If you don't agree with microtransactions, do not buy them, like, at all. But he was tweeting Arthur Geese about it, and he was asking about what was under embargo. Like, was microtransactions under embargo? And Arthur Geese is pretty much just like, no, nothing like that happened, So it's funny because, like, he wasn't defensive at all. He was just saying, like, no, there was nothing like that. And so the follow-up question is like, well, then how'd you miss it? Like, why didn't you talk about it? I think he really loved that game a lot, and he gave it a 9, and it was a very glowing review. And there's other, I mean, aside from the monetization of this game, there's some subtle reasons why stuff got scrapped and stuff got changed from Forza 4 that is not as good as Forza 4. And so I think even without this microtransaction stuff, at best this game is an 8. But that's we don't even have time for all that. So
we need to make the Let's Bitch About Forza 5 podcast.
Exactly.
Hosted by Capanius.
But I've been playing it, and the game is fun, and it's Forza. Like, I have a lot of fun for that game. But just trying to think if there's any other specific problems I had. But that's pretty much it. Is that they get the progression in order to increase the monetization for it.
Yeah, I had heard, again, I don't really follow it because I'm not really into those games, but I followed it just because, again, I think the topic is very interesting and important. Mm-hmm. But one thing I did hear a lot about the tracks. A lot of complaining about the tracks being locked. And you said that wasn't done at all before, or it was a little bit?
No, the tracks aren't locked, but they cut tracks. So there's less tracks in the game.
Oh, so they're just no tracks,
Forza
period.
4.
So like, even if you wanted to pay money, they just don't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow.
So I'm willing to bet that these are going to be released as DLC later on. So they basically cut the amount of day one content from Forza 4 to Forza 5. There's less tracks, there's less cars.
Wow.
And they were probably under the gun and they had to get this thing done, and so a lot of stuff got cut because of time, but they're going to release it as DLC and make even more money. I just thought of it. The other big complaint I had is that how Turn 10 is reacting to all this. So first of all, the fans of Forza 5 have been really adamantly opposed to these changes, and no news agency picked up on it. Like, I was tweeting to people, I was like, hey, you should talk about how Microsoft is doing all this triple monetization, because they're doing it in Rise, they're doing it in Crimson Dragon, they're doing it in Forza. This is like a new initiative, and they're making money in 3 ways, and I think it's too much, But no press outlet really picked up that story until Turn 10 made an official statement about it. And they basically said, we hear our fans, we really appreciate the feedback, so Black Friday tokens are going to go on sale. So it's, first of all, it's not even a permanent fix.
Yeah.
Second of all, they were probably going to do that anyway. This is just, they're going to make more money on that, because people are going to be like, well, I don't like it, but if I don't get the tokens now, then the tokens are going to be more expensive later on. And so I can get the Lotus E21 for $50 instead of $100. So it's just, I feel like it's greedy, and I don't have a problem with the whole free-to-play monetization model, because usually the cost of entry is free or close to free. But when I'm spending $60 to get into your game, and then I don't have to, but then I'm continuously confronted with the ability to spend more money. It's gross, and I don't like it.
Yeah, it would be, going back to kind of Killer Instinct or any fighting game. Let's say, Street Fighter 4 was $60, but only half the cast was there, and only half the stages. And I said, well, if you want Chun-Li, you've got to, buy tokens in order to buy Chun-Li, and you got to, buy tokens to unlock, Rue's original stage. Yeah. So there's an important question with the DLC, because I think DLC can go either way. DLC definitely has a bad rep, because a lot of companies, who we won't name, EA, has a really bad habit of abusing them. But I think as an idea, they're great. Sometimes I play a game, I buy it, and I think, wow, I got my money's worth. I want more now. Bayonetta, this happened. This is a great example. the one game I wanted DLC for, they never released DLC for. I'm like, I want to give you money. Give me extra stages or something because I want more of this game. So the question I want to ask is, and obviously you're still playing it, but do you think if you don't use any tokens, let's even throw away the tokens you got for Day 1 Edition. Did you buy the regular Forza or did you buy like...
I got the Forza Day 1 Edition. So there's 3 editions to Forza. There's like Forza you go to pick off the shelf now. There's Forza Day 1 Edition, which is the same price but only available on Day 1.
Right.
And then there's a limited edition, which is $80.
And you did not get the limited edition.
I did not get a limited.
So the only reason you got any tokens because you had the Day 1.
Yep.
So let's throw those tokens away. Cause
I did throw them away because I accidentally spent them.
So ignoring that, do you really feel like you're going to get $60 worth if you do not spend any tokens at all?
No, because I've gotten it's hard to put a price point on gameplay experience, but I felt like I got $60 worth with Forza 4. And it's really, when you have a franchise like this, it's really difficult because when you nail it one year and then you try to make changes the next year, people are going to be like, well, look at this year, they nailed it. They clearly are going back on that stuff. And so it is admittedly in a difficult situation to be in a franchise like that. But I feel, I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't get $60 worth out of it because the progression is so slow and that I'm getting a trickle of cars, whereas in Forza 4 I was getting cars, like tons of cars. I could play with these cars. And it is an interesting problem specific to racing games, because the other approach is, okay, you get all the cars and you get all the tracks. Like, I don't think that's the answer either, because the only way to make a compelling progress of gameplay is that you got to have that sense of earning things.
Right.
So I start out with a D-class car, or I could start out with a C-class car, and I've got to operate enough of these C-class races in order to earn enough money to get into the B-class, in order to earn enough money to get into the A-class, in order to earn enough money to get into R1, R2, all these different classes. So the best way that you have that feedback loop of positive gameplay experience is that you're unlocking and you're earning things. So
at a reasonable rate.
I'm not saying that the process of unlocking these cars is unjust, but I'm saying that they had a rate of progression that worked and people liked, and that they intentionally slowed down so that they could make more money. It's like, I don't have a problem with different forms of monetization as long as it doesn't bleed into game design.
Yeah.
In this case, the people that make the game design decisions were informed by the people that make the monetization decisions.
It sounds like the accountants were making the game design decisions.
Yeah.
I think that's where it falls apart. I totally agree with you on having to earn things gives you that sense of progression. Like if you were able to day one, hour one, pick up and play the absolute best car, and I'm kind of trying to relate, even though I don't play that game, I would think, I've already got the best car. Like, other than to challenge myself to, beat these really nice cars in my Honda Civic, what's the point? Well, I've already got the best car that there is.
And so, specific to racing, it's very difficult to drive those cars. Yeah. And so it's neat to
on a skill level
to basically earn the ability to race those cars and understand what's going on, and like, I have to brake a lot sooner and I have to accelerate in a specific way so that I maintain traction on these specific curves.
Right.
And so it is fun to go from very basic understanding of a very basic car to a very complicated car in its progression. So I don't have a problem with the progression system. It's just that it's been artificially slowed down.
Right. And I think that's the big thing is, if they would have kept the same progression, you feel like, I could buy tokens if I didn't want to spend the time, but I'm doing it quick enough that I don't feel like it's necessary. Versus they obviously made this slower to make me want to spend money because it gets tedious doing the same race over and over just so I can get a better car.
Yeah.
So I think that sounds like where they completely botched it. And it's really unfortunate too with it being a $60 game. You know, people, one of the big criticisms I've heard is like, if this was a free to play game or if this was like a $20 game, this might not be a big deal.
It would be awesome. Like, it would be great. But yeah,
you pay full price for a game that's, you know, had, you know, a big chunk of the pie cut out.
Yeah. I mean, things could be worse. Like, one thing I heard about Mass Effect is that there was randomization. Mass Effect 3, I think, had randomization involved with some of its unlocks. So you had to pay these tokens to get like these treasure chest things to unlock weapons for the multiplayer. And it was like a treasure chest. You had a chance of getting it.
Mass Effect 3 or Dead Rising 3? Or not Dead Rising, but Dead Space 3?
I thought it was Mass Effect 3, but I didn't play it, so I
didn't know Mass Effect 3 had a multiplayer. I mean, it might.
Mass Effect 3 did have multiplayer.
Oh, did it? Okay. Yeah.
But I don't know the specific. I didn't play it, so I'm just kind of. It's an uninformed opinion.
Right. But yeah, overall, I think it's a very interesting topic. I really, not part of me, all of me, the part of me that's 100% of me hopes that it fails miserably, or at least the microtransaction part fails miserably.
Yeah.
But the realistic part out of me and the cynical part of me is kind of like, I have a bad feeling people are going to shell out the money for all these tokens, and they're going to be like, "Hey, this is a success. We'll make sure to keep cutting out stuff that we should have been giving you anyway in the future games."
Yeah.
So I don't know. I hope it fails. I hope at least other companies at least have the morals to not do it.
Yeah, and it's a tricky thing too for like journalists don't want to specifically say negative things about it because they want to straddle that line between like, is this the direction of the industry that the industry needs to go in to maintain profitability and to be a viable business? But at the end of the day, I think when monetization bleeds into game design and the experience, then you should talk about it. You should say something.
Yeah.
And I think the games press did a poor job of being the canary in the coal mine and saying like, hey, before you buy this game, you should know about this crap. And they didn't say much. I mean, I can't speak in broad generalizations because I didn't read all the reviews of Forza, but the major ones I read didn't specifically call out the gameplay changes in order to fuel the monetization.
Yeah, and that does disappoint me. A lot of sites I don't like these days. I'm not a fan of Kotaku or Polygon, but sites like Giant Bomb and Destructoid, I really like them. And I find it a shame that they didn't mention this apparently.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I listened to the Giant Bombcast, and Jeff Gerstmann was specifically citing a lot of the negatives of Forza that were negatives that weren't about the monetization. So he wasn't like blown over by a game. He saw a lot of problems in that game, but that they didn't really talk about that as much. And I think I love Giant Bomb. It's one of my favorite sites, but the interesting thing about that is that they have, 4 or 5 personalities that sit around and talk about games and stream games and play games and everything. And if there's a specific genre that none of those people are super interested in, you're not going to get a lot of in-depth analysis on it. Like, I'm a huge baseball fan, and so I will be super interested to see how MLB The Show is on PlayStation 4. I'm not expecting anybody at Giant Bomb to give a detailed review on that because none of them play baseball games, but they really loved NBA 2K14. But yeah, that is an interesting kind of growth problem for the games press, is that you got to start at least informing people about these monetization steps that are happening in these games.
Yeah, I agree completely, and I think it's really, I would be interested to talk to the people who wrote reviews for sites like Destructoid and Giant Bombs. Like, why didn't you talk about this?
Yeah,
this seems like a major deal. Why did you completely?
It's a big shift. It's a big step for Microsoft to do this for their day one console game releases. But Anyway, I guess maybe we should get into actual impressions of the console itself, because we haven't talked about that.
Yeah, we have not. First of all, the voice commands. I've talked about voice command stuff before. I like voice commands in anything. Like, I use voice commands a lot on my phone. So that was the main reason I was interested in the Kinect in the first place. So I've been using them, like, to turn the Xbox on or to open Netflix, and I'm sure my Xbox is probably doing all these things right now as I say, oh my God, what are you trying to do?
All right.
I'm trying to do all these things. For the most part, it's worked pretty well.
You could say Xbox delete all my files.
Right, exactly. Format, catch on fire, and it'll do it. But for the most part, it's been good. Sometimes I have had to repeat myself. My living room is set up a bit weird, though. I'm not trying to come up with excuses, but sometimes it doesn't quite catch what I'm saying. But for the most part, it does. And people are like, what's the point of using a voice command? So I can just hit the controller. There's quite a few reasons why. For example, Sarah and I were watching Netflix, and she or I would either run to the restroom or get some food. So, and my controller is on my desk, and we're sitting on the couch, obviously. So I could easily just say Xbox pause, and it would pause. We would do our thing, and as we're coming back into the living room, I can say Xbox play, and it'll pick it up again. That's again, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but then in real life, when you're doing these things, it's like, oh, I forgot my controller's on my desk. I don't want to go get it, or I forget where it's at. Whatever. I can do that. Not to mention, there's the other side effect. Since the Xbox doesn't have rechargeable batteries, I can have the controller off and control the movie or whatever with voice and just leave the Xbox controller off and not eating up my batteries. Minor benefit, but it's there. There's other parts where getting to what you want to open would take longer than it is just to open it. For example, let's say I'm playing Forza 5, unlocking the trying to farm all this money that I need to buy this sweet car. And let's say, you know what, I'm kind of getting bored. I want to watch Twitch while I do this. Now, normally you'd have to hit the home button, navigate over to Twitch, open it up, etc. Now, but then you have to set it up to snap and all that. With the voice, I can just go Xbox snap Twitch, and boom, Twitch is up. I'm gonna have to find the channel I want to watch, but it opens it very quickly, or snap Netflix, or whatever. It's just very, very quick and smooth. And again, most of the time it understands you. I think a lot of people's problems with the Xbox not understanding them, or any voice controls not working, is they're not enunciating things. And honestly, using my Android phone voice controls has helped me learn to enunciate a little bit better, because I want to use the voice controls, and for it to fully understand me, I need to enunciate a little bit better. I mean, you don't have to talk like a robot, but you can't be like, hey, Xbox, why don't you turn on, open up Netflix? Like, you can't do things like that. So it helps me enunciate better. And I don't know, I just overall like the voice controls.
I found that I've had to have this robotic device mode that I talk. Like, if I want to talk to Siri or I want to talk to Xbox, I do have to talk like a robot. So it works for me. I've just found a mode where I speak very robotically and I over enunciate everything.
I think once you learn what you can get away with, you can do it. Mm-hmm. It's not that bad. Now, if it's not understanding me, yes, sometimes I will go in the robot mode and say, Xbox, open Netflix, which it probably just did. But it's not most of the time. It's not necessary. Now, one very weird thing that has come up. We were watching Mystery Science on the YouTube app. And not the Xbox Listen UI came up, but I think it was a special Listen UI specifically for YouTube kept coming up while we were watching it. And what was weird is it happened in particular when an explosion was going off. So it was like, why is that? I had to kept saying stop listening, because it would just randomly come up if something blew up. It was the most bizarre thing, and it was only during YouTube. Mm-hmm. And again, the UI was different, so I think it was YouTube specific, not for the Xbox. It was the weirdest thing. But other than that, somebody said that they lost or they lost progress in a game of Battlefield or something because somebody in the game said home. I have a hard time believing that because you don't just say home. You have to say Xbox home before it'll do anything. So it doesn't even make sense to me unless it was already listening. So like if somebody said Xbox right at the time the game said home, then I could see that happening.
The only time you can really screw like somebody over while they're playing is if you say Xbox go to like another game.
Right.
Because that doesn't require confirmation. If you say Xbox turn off, it's like, are you sure you want to turn off?
Right.
But switching games does not require confirmation. And if you say go home or if you say go to a different app, that doesn't kill the game. It just suspends the game.
Yeah, I think that was it. I think he was playing multiplayer, and I think it went home, so it kicked him out of the
It might
server.
kick him out of the match, yeah.
But again, I have a hard time believing something saying home would just kick it, because it doesn't listen to that. I've never had a problem with that. The only weirdness I've had, like I said, was with the YouTube. So have you tried using the voice controls at all?
A bit. I've had some issue with it where I just had to repeat myself, and it kind of gets annoying. I mean, I feel like they made it in such a way that you really have to use the voice interface, because using a controller at times is really bad because the way they've set up menus. And I think another kind of weird thing is that everything is an app. Like there's no part of the OS. Everything is an app. And so if you want to change your settings, you go to the settings app. If you want to look at your achievements, you open up the achievements app. If you want to get more apps, you open up the app. I mean, it's just, they went nuts with that approach. But it's weird because like you get an achievement in your game, and it used to be you just press the guide button to see what achievement you got or an explanation of that achievement. But now you have to hold down the X button, open up the achievements app, and then it displays this huge, like, or not huge, but like this full screen animation with, it's like, just I want to know the subtext of the achievement to understand what it is actually, because they only display the titles, which is like, you know, go get them or set and ready, like just dumb things. It's like that doesn't do anything to explain what I just did.
I've actually stopped doing that now. Like whenever I get an achievement, I used to be like, oh, what does that mean? Yeah. And I'd go to it, and now it's like, it's just too tedious. Not going to bother.
And in all fairness, both of those experiences are messed up. Or on PlayStation 4, it's messed up too, because you get a trophy and you want to go look at it. Then you got to go to the trophies section, and you have to sync with PSN before you can see the trophy that you just unlocked. So I feel like they both missed on that one, and I feel like that's a very common gameplay experience. Like that happens to a lot of people. They get a trophy and like, how did I get that trophy?
Yeah.
Or how did I get that achievement?
I think they both need to be streamlined.
Yeah.
As far as that goes. I want to talk about the snap functionality. I actually like it quite a bit. I forget what I was playing, but there was a chess tournament going on Twitch. And I think I was practicing in the dojo or something with Killer Instinct. And I was like, oh, I want to watch the chess tournament. So I had the chess tournament open up in Twitch on the side while I played Killer Instinct. Now, granted, that window is going to be very, very small just because of the orientation and everything. But it was enough that I could see what was going on. We're going to have to start having TVs that are squares, I think, so that we can...
That are 2 16:9. So I guess, what would that be? 16:18?
Yeah, so that you can actually have two things that are, you know, at least relative size. Because it's kind of funny, because if you open Netflix or Twitch, like the little actual window you're watching is such a small,
it's so tiny.
It's like 25% of the entire Snap window. So, but it works well enough. I mean, you're not paying full attention to it anyway, most likely, when you're playing a game, but it's just kind of there as something to look at while you're loading a screen or you're waiting for the next
they'll ever
match.
support multiple monitors? Like, you have Xbox Snap where you have it separate, like, smaller display?
I wouldn't count on it anytime soon.
I don't think that's...
It'd be nice.
That would be cool. But yeah, I haven't seen any... First of all, I don't have it plugged up to a cable box or any live TV.
Right,
and
neither do I.
So I really think that the speech commands for stuff like that could be cool. If you just said, like, Xbox, go to ESPN. You know, it could actually fire up your cable box, tuned to the correct channel based on a voice command. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I don't when I play a game, I don't often do other things while I play a game.
Yeah, I don't either.
I could see there being a podcasting app where you have subscriptions and it automatically updates your podcast and
That'd
you
be
just
cool.
listen to it. That would be cool. It doesn't even need to have a snap interface. It just plays in the background. And I don't know if that's a common enough use case, but I've heard multiple people say they would like that.
Yeah. Yeah, or even like, music. You don't need a snap
That's
for that.
another thing. I don't think there's any way to play MP3s on that system.
I think you can play. It's PS4 that I don't think.
I think neither of them can.
I swore Xbox could, because I thought that was one of the arguments, was that Xbox.
They were saying you could, but then people are trying it, and like you have to. It won't read off the storage. Like you can plug a USB device in it, but it won't read off that at all.
Oh,
It's like you have to. I don't know. It'll play audio CDs though.
well,
So,
that's
it's
good.
worth
For
your
the
extra
cavemen
$100.
still using audio CDs.
Yeah.
Out there banging rocks together and listening to NXS.
One other problem I've had is that, and this is not like, it's probably not a common problem for people, but we have 5 people at my office and we all have Xbox Live accounts, and so we all added our sign in to the Xbox One, and so we walk into the room and it does a really good job of just recognizing.
Yeah.
Hi Travis. Hi,
Yeah.
so and so. And so you can see that the Xbox knows about all the people that are in the room. The problem is that it really gets confused when the person playing a game changes. So, say I have a coworker that's playing Gran Turismo, and he's done playing Gran Turismo. I walk in the room, says, "Hi, Travis." He hands me the controller. He leaves. He's not signed in anymore. But I'm on Gran Turismo. Did I say Gran Turismo?
Yeah, I was
Forza.
okay.
Sorry. Man, I was so embarrassing already. that did come out, I think, this week though. Gran Turismo 6 for the PlayStation 3. But it remains logged in in his game, even though it knows I'm there. And then when we were playing Killer Instinct, we were just playing winter stays and just pass the controller around.
Yeah.
And it got really confused because it started the match and it would say the last person's name, and then halfway through the match it would change who that person is. And so the rewards would change, and so it was just you could tell it was trying to dynamically map a controller to a profile.
Yeah.
Whereas in the 360 you explicitly had to say this controller is signed in as this person.
Yeah.
A controller is a profile.
Right.
But now it's trying to do a much more loose. There are profiles signed in, there are people with controllers, and I'll do my best of understanding who has what controller. It's funny because I feel like they should have been the ones with the RGB LED on the end of the controller to map it to it, but they didn't do that. PS4 did it, and no one owns the camera. So
Yeah.
it's just ironic.
Yeah. So, but I do think it's cool that they're trying to, and hopefully they'll weed that out.
There's a lot of potential. It just seems like the Xbox One has a ton of potential, and nothing is yet firing on all cylinders. So it'll be interesting to see if through updates and service pack releases, they can get to a point where this stuff just works and it works great. So I'm definitely interested to see if they can pull it off, because their vision is not yet realized, but their vision is not invalid.
Yeah. Yeah, the controller switching thing is pretty cool. That it's like, a different user that I recognize has gotten the controller, so I'll make sure to log them in so they get the points or any achievements or
And
whatever.
I've heard there's even a way where if it sees that the controller is resting on a table, then it operates that controller in a power saving mode.
Yeah.
Because no one's
heard that
pressing
too.
it, so it's like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that is pretty neat. See what other features. The UI I think is overall better than the PlayStation. I like the interface better. Really?
I think it probably looks better, but I hate navigating it. And I guess that's because they want you to navigate everything with voice commands.
Yeah.
But if I'm trying to, it's like, okay, I have to cycle through these checkerboard of squares to get to the right square that I want to do.
Yeah, that part is kind of annoying. So if you're far on the left side with the pins and you want to get to the store, I mean, you can actually go all the way up and then switch tabs, but it's still kind of a pain. But yeah, I think it's easier if you say open store or I'm assuming that works, or go to store or whatever.
And I would even go. I changed my mind. I don't even think it looks better than PS4. I think PS4 looks better because it's more clean. Like they're so busy. There's just all these squares and icons, and it's very. And it's not there now, but given their history with the 360, those are gonna be ad squares. There's gonna be squares that are just ads, and that's gonna suck because 360 had so much.
But sometimes I need to be reminded that I need gamer fuel.
Yeah, of course.
Which that stuff is nasty, by the way. Like I might have liked that when I was 16, 17. But man, that is like oof.
I really, really, I like it in a weird, like, this is dumb kind of way. This is just tastes so man-made. Like, there's nothing in that has come from nature. It is just like, it tastes like a laboratory. It's delicious.
Like, I normally am definitely not under the, like, oh, this tastes like chemicals thing. But it really does taste like total, like, just chemical concoction. And it's too sweet for me too. It's like drinking circus peanuts. It's like, oof, man, it's just too much.
Circus peanut beverage. It's a great idea.
Oh God, like I love circus peanuts, or at least I used to. But even then, like I can only handle so many, and it's like, oof, okay. Yeah. I feel like I have brain cancer now, so I need to like chill out on those. But so I guess the question is now. Well, let's talk about the controller. We didn't talk about the controller at all. So what do you think, just the controller by itself compared to the 360 and compared to the PS4 controller?
Well, I think every change so far is an improvement. The D-pad is the biggest improvement, obviously. Yes. I mean, I think we did talk a bit about it. Maybe we just talked a bit about it on one of our Let's Plays or something when we did the Xbox One.
I think we talked about it last time a little bit because we played it at Atlanta before. But now that we've had some time with it.
I really like the way the triggers feel. I like the rounding mesh on the sticks. Mm-hmm. It kind of it adds a little bit of more tactile, like it makes them less slippery. Yeah. And it feels really good. Like I think it's a across the board improvement over the 360.
Yeah, it's definitely weighty, not like too much weight, but it has a chunk feel to it. One thing I don't like, and I think this is specific to mine, but I'm giving it to Capanius here to try it. But if you feel on the left-hand side where the moldings come together, like it feels like it's a little loose. I'm assuming that's not normal.
No,
because it's
I haven't paid attention.
It's the thing, like I'm definitely not one to just pick up on stuff like that because I really don't care most of the
it's
time.
enough so that they're not even.
It. Yeah,
like it's kind of like your finger could catch on it.
And it's something I keep drawing to. Like even when I'm just holding it, I'll keep like fiddling with it because it's driving me nuts. But I think that was just my controller. I think something happened with it.
Some of the rubber on my PS4 on one of my PS4 sticks is starting to come off a little bit.
Really? Already?
Yeah. It's so. I don't know if that's gonna. It kind of got a gouge in it somehow, and so like this kind of black dust is on there all the time now. It's like very little, but it's like you have to. I don't know. It's only happening on one.
That is a bit strange. I will say too. I mean, my number one complaint, my number 1 through 5 complaints about the 360 were the D-pad. Yeah. I generally prefer to use a D-pad on a lot of types of games, so it being terrible was a big problem. So the D-pad is definitely a huge improvement. I like it. Do I like it more than the PS4 controller, the D-pad specifically? I don't think so, but they're pretty close. It's close enough that it doesn't.
I think, in my opinion, it's a little too clicky. Like, after a while, it just gets, like, too much. And the PS4 is the right amount of unambiguous mushy. Like it's a little mushy, but it's not ambiguous at all. Like you know when you're pressing it, but it's got a nice soft feel. Whereas the 360 is unambiguous, but it's clicky.
The triggers are a little weird to me, a little strange. Again, not at this point. It's nitpicky stuff. It's not like this is totally putting me off, but they feel a bit weird. It's just I don't know because they're so large. I think, and it feels like you're moving a lot when you're moving the triggers. Again, a little weird, not terrible by any stretch. I I'm still not used to not having a start button. I think that's...
I love how both of them got rid of the start button at the same time.
Yeah, like, they were at launch together, and I was like, let's just get rid of that stupid start
What does even start even mean?
Yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, having, like, a menu, and then I don't even know what that other button's supposed to be, like a switch button.
Copy? I don't know.
Yeah, like, but it does different things. So it doesn't...
for copy.
I mean, to be fair, having a select button doesn't make a lot of sense either, because it technically isn't selecting anything almost ever. It's just bringing up a menu. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it was already pretty arbitrary to start with. Obviously, the thing I hate is the proprietary sound. I hate proprietary anything pretty much. So the fact that they're like, you have to use these specific types of things for your headphones, total nonsense, completely unnecessary. I really hate that aspect for sure. But overall, I think it's a really good controller. Compared to the PS4, which one do I prefer? Honestly, I can't say one way or the other. I don't think I've played enough with both. But quite frankly, either way, it's not going to be a situation where I'm like, PS4 controller all the way, or Xbox One controller all the way. I think they're both really, really good controllers, and probably...
I think they both just got it right.
I mean, they're almost as good as the Ouya controller. I mean, it's close, but Ouya.
Where's your Ouya?
It's sitting over there. It's by the fireplace. See, it's on the...
Oh, I see. It's already on the logs, ready to get set on fire.
It's because I've played it so much.
Yeah.
It's still hooked up, though, technically, so, you know, there's that for it. But yeah, they're both really good. I think some of the best controllers we've ever seen, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think it's interesting how it seems like every console generation there was half and half between we want to refine the things we know work and we want to try something new and to see if it works.
Yeah. Like
the GameCube controller, it's like, let's make one big button and then all these small buttons that are around it,
yeah,
you know?
That was weird.
And it's just they were still, this is the first generation I feel like they're like, all right, no more experiments. Let's refine what we know works.
Right.
And both sides decided to do, I guess the PS4 did add the touchpad, which is pretty experimental. But I don't think there's anything on the Xbox One controller that is experimental at all.
Yeah, no.
It's just a refinement of what they know works.
Did they have a headphone jack in the 360 controller in any of those?
Yeah, there was the headset jack took a standard like headset, a 2.5 millimeter. It was a smaller one, but it was still a standard size.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Was that in all of the 360 or just later ones?
All of them. But the only thing is, the first ones came with a special connector that plugged into both the proprietary and the standard audio connector. I don't know why, because later on they made one inline that only plugs into the standard one.
That's so weird.
Yeah, the 360 had this proprietary port where you could plug in the keypad, so you had a keyboard on there. But they changed the plug in it, and it was really weird because in order to work with that headset, they had to make the Guitar Hero controllers have that weird rounded edge to it to plug in the proprietary connector, even though it just took a standard 2.5 millimeter like stereo jack.
Let's talk about the apps on the Xbox One. Well, Twitch, first of all, is the big disappointment in that you can't stream.
Yeah, you can't broadcast, but you can view.
Yeah, and I don't think you can even log into the Twitch. I don't think
so. I don't think there's any like concept of like logins or your profile, so you can't go to a view and see who you follow.
Right, and hopefully they fix that. But the big thing is not being able to stream on day one. It's crazy. It's more funny to think that Xbox was the one who was like, hey, we've got built-in Twitch streaming so you can stream your Killer Instinct matches. And PS4 was like, we got Ustream, which sucks and nobody in America uses. But then they added Twitch later, and it's day one available and works great. But then the Xbox is like, we'll get Twitch streaming first quarter of 2014. It's like, really? It's like...
I think when the PS4 announced their stuff, like we're going to have this share button, we have a built-in, a special like processor just for DVR, like a DVR functionality where we're recording.
Yeah.
And I think that's an offset like chip for that stuff. I think the Xbox One was past the point of circuit design, but they wanted that functionality. So it's like, well, yeah, we're going to do Twitch streaming too. We just got to figure out the details later.
Didn't Xbox say streaming first? I thought.
No, I thought PS4 said streaming at the very first of these console events.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
They said streaming, but they
that
only
makes
said
sense.
Ustream.
Right.
And then Microsoft said, like, we're going to have streaming. It's going to have Twitch.
So you think that... So do you think that, obviously it's speculation,
Yeah.
but that they didn't have any plans for streaming, or at least at launch, and then they said, oh crap.
I think they didn't have any plans for streaming at all. Until they saw that PS4 was going to do streaming, and they're like, that's a pretty good idea. We should do that. But this is my speculation and thought. And I mean, I think they really were dedicating a lot of engineering time and design time towards the infrastructure of the always online stuff. Like, their engineers were really just really heads down on figuring out all the issues with that. And I don't think that they were going to put any sort of hardware functionality for streaming. I think they might have had it as a software initiative. Like, we'll just make the software to make streaming possible. But the PS4 has, I believe, a dedicated coprocessor for streaming video and for recording video too. So it's like a chip just for the codec. So
that'd be interesting if true, because that would help to, because one of my issues with the PS4 streaming, which I think I talked about before, so I'll cover this briefly, is that I think that a reason they don't give you an option on quality is because they go with a low quality anyway, because they didn't have the processing power to play the game and encode your stream and upload it. Because encoding is pretty CPU intensive, so I thought maybe they didn't have the horsepower for it.
Well, I think all that encoding is in a dedicated processor.
Okay. If so, then that is actually pretty damn cool on their end. But I'm very much disappointed in no streaming on day one, or even year one of Xbox.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And it's not even like, oh, it's coming January. It's quarter 2014.
Yeah.
So it could be April, which, I mean, that's a pessimistic look. But surely they won't go that long. That would be insane if they're like, April 15th, we'll finally get Twitch streaming involved. It's like, that would be nuts, especially PS4 had it day one.
It's going to be interesting because I mean, it's all speculation and it's theory, and I could be completely wrong. I probably am completely wrong. But if they don't have a dedicated coprocessor for encoding, then that the main GPU CPU combo is going to take a hit somehow.
I wouldn't be surprised too if they were like, "Look, if you're streaming, you can't be snapping." No.
Yeah, I think that might happen. They might say stream or snap.
Yeah, you couldn't do both. Even though I guess the snap is probably under the umbrella of stuff that's reserved for the OS, so maybe it would be okay. But then again, so would the streaming. Maybe
they probably have the ability to launch an app in a like non-reserved mode where those things aren't reserved, so that app has more resources to do things like streaming. And I feel like people would be okay with stream or snap,
right?
Because why do you need to snap things on while you're streaming your stuff? I can't think of a specific reason for that. Yeah.
But hopefully it comes sooner rather than later, because I would definitely like to use the streaming, especially since they have the Kinect, so that you can, have your cam and you can do the voice. You don't have to worry about doing anything else. I mean, obviously you can do the PS4, but you have to buy the camera, which, I mean, it's cool that it's there. And if I was going to do a lot of PS4 streaming, I would almost certainly buy the camera.
Yeah. I'd consider getting it if I ever got better internet, but my upload rates are terrible. Yeah,
I think that's the main problem in America is most base services have terrible upload because most people don't need a high upload.
Yeah.
So unless you pay extra or you just get lucky, then your upload's probably terrible.
Yep.
One other app. Have you tried any other apps like other Netflix? I really don't like the UI. I do not like it at all. For example,
I haven't tried any of those video services apps for the One, but I've tried them for the PlayStation 4, and they might be very similar.
I haven't done a lot of Netflix on the PS4, but I'm not crazy about the Xbox Netflix. For one thing, I was searching for Mystery Science Theater because apparently they're back on Netflix after they were on and they got taken off and now they're back. So I was looking for Mystery Science. So I searched and it only showed like 9. Like that's the most result it'll show. I couldn't say show me everything with Mystery Science because there's a bunch of different episodes and none of the ones I wanted to watch were listed. And then they have like a little ellipse at the bottom you can press. But no, I don't think that was even for that screen. It was more like show more things related to Mystery Science. I'm like, oh, well, that's what I want. So I clicked it, but then it's pretty much the same thing. It only shows like 9 episodes. And that's a kind of unique example. Most of the time, let's say you're looking for Dexter, this will just take you to the Dexter show and everything is categorized by season. And this is not going to be a big deal. Mystery Science, because of licensing and all kinds of other problems, it's all listed as different movies or separate shows. So you can't just say, load up my Mystery Science thing and show me all the seasons and all the episodes. That
might be a problem on every Netflix app then.
It could be. So that might not be a fair thing. But even overall, I'm not crazy about the UI on it. I've liked the PS3 UI for Netflix. I haven't messed with Netflix a lot on the PS4.
So one thing I've heard that's really cool about some of the video services app is, say you've gone through and you've set up all your logins for Hulu and Amazon Plus and Netflix and everything. You can use Bing to search for a movie, and then it'll show you which services have it.
Oh, that's cool.
That really helps, because like there have been times where me and my wife was like, let's watch this old movie. Let's watch Ghostbusters or something. Like it's an old movie, but probably some service has it for free. Right. But then I have to go to Netflix. Does Netflix have it? Does Hulu have it? Does Amazon Instant have it? Now you can just do a voice command, Xbox Bing Ghostbusters. You probably get the Ghostbusters video game, but you might get the Ghostbusters movie, and it should say, like, watch it on Amazon, and then you pick it, and it'll start playing on Amazon. The only thing is that for whatever reason, Netflix isn't. It's called like Xbox One Guide or something like that, and Netflix isn't part of it yet. I don't know if that's Netflix choosing. I don't know if that's temporary, but so you can search, across Hulu and Amazon Instant, and also it helps if you want to watch a certain TV show because as a consumer, you have no idea how these licenses are split up. It's a confusing mess because these contracts expire and are renewed at an irregular rate. And so it's always a pain in the ass to know which services have what you want to watch. So aggregated search has always been something I've wanted. And not only do they have that, but it's behind a voice command. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool that they've done that. We tried to do party chat that one time. It didn't work, but I think that was probably because of your
I found out I don't think it's set up yet. I don't think you can do audio chat in a party or something. I read something crazy that it wasn't like, and maybe it just wasn't working that day or something.
Oh, maybe because that was like day one, I think. So maybe the servers were overloaded or something.
Yeah.
But so you didn't really get a chance to mess with that. Have you messed with like the Skype or anything at all?
Nope.
I think I logged into.
We might have to try that just to see how it works.
Yeah, I logged into it, but I haven't. I don't use Skype hardly ever.
Yeah.
So I haven't really fiddled with it. Now the one app which has caused some issue is the video editor, so that you can upload your
Upload Studio.
Yeah, the Upload Studio. Apparently, people started getting messages that they were banned for 24 hours for quote unquote what was it, like previous behavior or some ambiguously ridiculously ambiguous thing, but it didn't tell them why. So people figured out that it was because, or it started as a rumor. It's like, well, I just uploaded some video via the Upload Studio and I was swearing during it. So people started to speculate, well, maybe it's because of the swearing. Well, long story short, Microsoft has announced that yes, if you upload via the Upload Studio and that video has excessive swearing in it, you can receive a 24-hour ban. Yeah. Which is dumb, moronic on so many levels. First of all, these games coming out have excessive swearing in them. Yeah, so it's like you could be playing Assassin's Creed and the character says a word and then you said he just said that word and then you get banned for it. Like, yeah, and it's under the umbrella of excessive swearing. So what is excessive? Just that guy that's
subject to human interpretation.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous that they would even think that this is a good idea. That they're apparently policing this under the general community guidelines. Like, how idiotic is that? Like, what moron thought this is a good idea? That we should ban people who swear on a video. And not only that, we're not going to tell you that's why. First of all, we're not going to make it clear that you can't do that. Secondly, when we ban you for it, we're not going to tell you why. We're going to give you this generic form letter of why it is. Like, it's so stupid. On top of all the other screw-ups you've been doing to this point. Yeah. It's like, who is in charge over there? Let's just take the whole top layer of management of the Xbox and fire every single one of them. And start over, because you guys are totally screwing the pooch.
It's just so, like, first of all, it's just a really bad reaction to the fact that they didn't have any content controls in place at time of launch. So, there are ways to handle this so that the wrong audience isn't subject to a lot of cussing. You can have an explicit tag. I mean, Apple does a pretty standardized job of... it's your responsibility to set the explicit tag, and then if you opt out, you don't search for anything with the explicit tag, and done. But they didn't have these systems in place, and I don't know if this was fueled by a specific complaint or if they were so skittish about what happened on the PS4 with Playroom that they didn't want to be involved in any sort of like. Yeah, but the thing is, it's just cussing. Like, there's no way that you could have posted video on there. So it's not like people were uploading, terrible things to upload studio. It was just gameplay with cussing.
Given the time frame, I have a hard time believing that it would have anything to do with the Playroom stuff. Yeah, which we'll talk about that in a minute too. But I think they thought, oh yeah, we'll just not allow cussing, not tell you about it, and we'll block anyone who does it. Yeah. I mean, it's just you just have to, like, I want to be on the fly on the wall to listen to these conversations where they decide that this is a good idea. Thinking? And, like, you have the one guy in there who's like, are you people idiots? Who's being completely ignored by the management who've never played an Xbox in their life and think, yeah, that's legit. Next issue is, especially working in corporate and hearing amazingly idiotic things that people come up with and think are a good idea. Like, I see the realistic happening, and these people thinking, "Yeah, this won't be a problem," and then totally
it's just 24 hours, they'll be fine.
Yeah, and being totally confused when it blows up in their face. I'm like, I don't understand why this happened. It's like,
it's dumb.
It's just like, at some point you kind of want to feel bad about for Microsoft because they just keep getting crapped on every day. Almost, it's some new thing. That's like facepalm.
They just keep making weird mistakes. They just like, come on, you should have thought that through. I mean, granted, I guess they don't have any experience, or the Xbox team doesn't have experience with content creation, like with user-created content. I mean, so I guess they just didn't know how to handle it. But it's like, it just takes one person there to be like, no, maybe we shouldn't do this. Like,
I could understand, like, this is an issue we need to deal with, but coming out with, let's deal with it this way.
And the weird thing is the way the controls worked. I don't think that they were banned from Xbox Live. I think they were banned from Skype.
They were banned from Xbox Live.
So this is Xbox Live ban.
Yes.
They couldn't
so
play
like
online?
If you wanted to play Killer Instinct afterwards, or watch Netflix, well, too bad. You're banned for 24 hours.
You cussed. You can't watch a television show. Like, what?
Yeah, it's so asinine that it's all tied together too.
Yeah,
it's not like they said, "Well, you're not allowed to upload anymore."
Yeah,
until we figure this out. That would have been stupid too.
Yeah, it would have been
less stupid.
Yeah, exactly. It would have been dumb, but it's like at least there's some logic in there somewhere. Yeah, this is completely illogical and stupid.
It would be like if YouTube, because you can get copyright strikes for anything because we want to get how moronic YouTube's copyright strike system is. But it would be like if you got a YouTube copyright strike, so now you can't get your Gmail.
Yeah.
It's like
you can't use your Android phone.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we've locked you out of making phone calls now.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Like, who thinks this is a good idea? Like, it's one of those things I feel like they they like stamped their name on it and just they gave it no thought. Like this is not a big deal. This is a ticket item, but no, this is obviously a big deal, and now it's blowing up in their face yet again.
Yeah, and it happened to a lot of people, right? Like it wasn't just like an isolated incident.
Because
so weird.
I first heard about it on Xbox on the Reddit subforum on the Xbox One subreddit. Somebody mentioned having it to them, and they speculated it was cursing. And honestly, at first, I'm like, no, this person like did something wrong, or like they're trying to, you know what people do, like, oh, I got banned for no reason. And then you found out that they were using like illegal copies of the game, or they were cheating or whatever. Yeah. So I thought, this is probably not a thing. I think even the moderator marked the thread as like rumor or even untrue, like, or false title or something like that. But then it turns out like it's true, and Microsoft has even confirmed that this is our moronic decision. Yes, we stand behind it. So like it's just, I mean, I guess if we want to give them any kudos, at least they were like, yes, this is our rule. They weren't just like, let's just be quiet and hope for this thing kind of clears out of the way and people forget about it. At least they finally went, this is us. We did this.
So if you get on Upload Studio, just be like, this gosh darn guy.
Golly gosh.
Oh, man.
He shot me in the head.
Aw, shucks.
That's a real bummer, jeez. Golly gee willikers. While the guy who just got shot was, oh fuck, I got shot in the head, son of a bitch. I guess that's the asinine part. And I've heard, and I haven't heard a case of this happening, but speculation was if the game was cursing, like you said, it could catch that and you could get banned because the game that you bought cursed in the video, not you. Like if that's true, that just puts it a whole nother level of absurdity.
I've heard it wasn't like there's not some sort of automated way. I've heard that these have all been like people heard it and decided to ban it or whatever. But it's dumb. It's just Microsoft just keeps failing and failing and failing. And it's I don't wish failure on them. Like I want every company to make things as good as possible. I mean, it helps everybody out. It's good for gamers, for everybody to be doing their best. But Microsoft has just made a lot of mistakes lately. It's just like, I kind of just want, it's like, come on, get it together, guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's silly to, I mean, obviously the PC is the master race.
Of course.
But it's silly to want the other competitors to fail because let's say you're a big PlayStation fanboy, and let's say Nintendo and Microsoft completely fails this generation, and Microsoft is like, you know what, the Xbox One did so poorly, we're out of the console market. And Nintendo was like, we're not doing home consoles anymore, we're just doing DSs and handhelds from here on out, and licensing games to other systems like PC or whatever. And there was just Sony PlayStation. Do you know how bad things would be? Yeah. Like Sony would just be like,
we won. We don't have to care anymore.
So that online only thing, that's PS5. And we're actually making a new console every year that you need to buy if you want the newest thing. And DLC is going to be every single game. And I mean, if you think Sony wouldn't do that, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
The only reason they're on their best behavior this time is because they effed up so bad last time, and it bit them in the ass because people just bought a competitor. And because it's a dead hate between a big competition between the two. You take out the competition, they're not going to care anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the cable industries. If you're in America, you know damn well how bad the cable system is here because they don't have to compete. Yeah. They have legal monopolies in certain areas, so they don't care. Yeah. You're not going. What are you going to go get DSL? And even that's like questionable.
How long the interface on your cable box has been the same?
Yeah,
like it's like cable boxes haven't had new interfaces in like 10 years now, 8 years. I don't know. It's like crazy.
The pricing schemes are ridiculous. You think? I mean, imagine if Cox and Comcast and Time Warner and all of them all had to compete to get your business because they were all available.
It'd be way cheaper and way better.
I bet we would probably start seeing the a la carte systems a lot sooner because they know that's what people would want, so they'd be tripping over each other to try to offer that. So it's the same thing with anything, consoles, whatever it is. I can totally get being like, oh, I'm a fan of the PlayStation 4 and I want it to be better. But to go to the next step and say, I want the Xbox to totally fail just because that's not my preferred system, that's ridiculous, and it only hurts you. Now, to say it, if I wanted the Xbox to fail when it had all the online shit, I wanted it to fail then. But now that they've taken it out and listened to people, I want it to be a closer match.
Definitely. I mean, you wanted it to fail just in the sense that you wanted there to be a clear message sent from consumers that they don't want it.
Right. Just like I want to see this DLC thing with Forza fail. It's not because I have a problem with the game. I don't want other companies to go, that really worked well. So let's do that with our games. Let's cut out all the parts that are needed.
That's what I'm kind of... It's like people are really giving Microsoft crap about it, but it's like I'm just holding my breath about Drive Club. Like, I hope this isn't the same. I hope this isn't the new standard, because I want it to be clear that the fans don't want it, and so that the people who are designing Drive Club right now or Gran Turismo 7 realize that maybe at least we don't make progression so hindered.
So, drawing to a close, what are your overall thoughts on just the Xbox One?
Like I said, I think there's so much potential in that system, and on a certain level, it's not really as much for me because I'm not like into a lot of... I don't do any multitasking, and I don't have live cable. I don't have cable TV hooked up to it, so I don't have a cable box. So it's not... Some of the features just aren't a big sell to me, but there are some kind of living room enhancements that seem really cool in concept that I want them to smooth out the execution on. So I'm definitely into what they have to offer getting better, and I want them. I'm also, like we said so much, I'm kind of turned off by all the microtransactions. So I definitely think, though, that this is a good start for their platform. There's no outright failures or home runs. It's just kind of a good starting point, and there's a lot of potential on both sides.
Yeah, overall, I've enjoyed my time with it. I like the controller. I like the voice commands. I think the fitness thing can be really, really neat and just like helpful, like in a real life way, like life changing, possibly even way. Not to oversell it, but I think it can be a big motivator for people again like me to kind of get in shape, lose weight, etc., etc. So I think that's cool. And I think they corrected a lot of their issues, and I think they're showing that they're willing to listen, but there's still some serious screw-ups that they continue to do, and some that they've already obviously done, but are just now coming to light. Like the Upload Studio was probably a policy made 3 months ago that we only just now finding out about. So, once we get past this rough beginning, I think we are going to see another good console war. I don't know if there's been any solid figures of which one's outselling the other. I've heard hearsay that the PlayStation 4 has significantly outsold and that there's still significantly higher demand.
It's kind of apples to oranges, but both sides have said day one they sold 1 million units. They sold. But that is
to retail
in 17 regions or 11 regions for Xbox One, and with 1 region for the PlayStation 4. So the PlayStation 4 launched yesterday in Europe.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I just realized I started out the podcast. I said it was Friday. It's Saturday, isn't it?
Oh, it is Saturday.
Yeah.
Don't
All right.
notice.
Let's start over. It is Saturday, November 30th. No. So, yeah, it is Saturday, and then yesterday was when the PlayStation 4 launched in Europe.
Okay. So it'll be interesting. I definitely want to keep an eye on it. Again, I hope Microsoft starts to stop screwing up.
Yeah.
And making their console more valuable. As far as, would I tell people to buy it now? It depends if they want specific types of games. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to say buy this $500 console. PlayStation 4 obviously has the problem of, well, it's cheaper, but there's not that many great exclusives. Assassin's Creed so far has been very fun, and I've heard lots of really good feedback about it. Not exclusive, but it's still a fun game. Resogun is a lot of fun. and there's other games that are on in multiple systems that are good for it. But it'll be an interesting console war, I think. And Wii U, I've been hearing better things about that. The new Mario that came out, I've heard zero negative things.
No, I think that's the best reviewed game of the holiday season.
Yeah, like it's been non-stop praise on Twitter and review sites about how many people love that game. So, maybe the Wii U is something you look at this holiday. If you don't want to spend that much money and you want to wait to see how this console thing goes out, maybe Wii U, maybe you need to look at it, because I'm hearing better and better things about it recently, and some people are starting to pipe up. It's like, you know what? Of the three consoles, I'm kind of liking the Wii U better right now because it's got more games. So
it's been out for a year, so it's got a lot more titles for it.
But. Yeah, and Bayonetta 2 next year, which I'm going to buy the system for. So I mean, well, I guess we'll see. It might, I'm not putting stock into this, but maybe the Wii U starts to become a contender. Mm-hmm. Maybe. Well, again, it's a little early to say.
They're all just different parts of the market, so it's...
Well, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to get too into it, but I don't know. We'll see. Two things I want to say before we stop off. First off, Stasis. I totally remember what it was about. It's a point and click horror adventure game set in space. It was quite fun. I really liked the atmosphere. In a nutshell, you're alone on the space station, or seemingly alone, and you're trying to figure out what happened to your family. Definitely check it out. They have a Kickstarter. Also, Dead Rising 3. I did play that, and just very briefly, I really like it so far. Graphically, it looks fantastic. I haven't noticed any major frame rate problems, and it just looks damn good. And made a lookout and like tons of zombies, and they look different.
It looks pretty awesome.
Yeah, if you like Dead Rising, you'll like this game, and... I will say, remember to save. They fixed the save problem because you can just save anywhere, and I kind of forgot that and lost about 45 minutes of time because I forgot that.
Yeah.
But overall, I've really enjoyed it so far. I'll stream it for you when they ever,
get around to it. Yep.
But I think that is going to do it for today. I think we've been on for like 2.5 hours. I knew this was going to be a long one.
Yeah, this is going to be a long one. I mean, these first couple we're talking about console, there's just a lot happening right now. Right. But I imagine once we get into the spring and there's less releases, they're probably going to be about 3 or 4 minutes. Just check it. No, not that short, but there'll be a lot shorter.
Hour and a half-ish is, I think, a reasonable amount of time. But just today, and we still didn't talk about everything we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
But it was just getting a bit long. People were like, oh my God, please end. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, whether it was on YouTube or iTunes or however you found us. Make sure to let us know, give us feedback. Again, you can reach us on Twitter, or if you're watching this on YouTube, leave comments. Let me know what you're thinking. Any positive or negative comments. You can reach me on Twitter at MalachiVT. That's MalachiVT, like Victor Tango. And what is your Twitter, Capanius?
It is Capane. It's Capane_US. CAPANE_US.
So definitely share this podcast if you like it. We're definitely, we're mostly doing it because we want to get an excuse to get together and talk about games and nerd out.
We basically had these conversations anyway. It's like we just need to record them.
Right. So, but obviously we would love to have people listen in and give their feedback as well. So make sure to share it, or just again tell us what you liked, what you didn't like. And we'll work on making it even better.
Yeah, and if you're watching or listening on YouTube, you can find it at supergametalk.com, and you can subscribe there. And I've submitted it to iTunes. We should get accepted this week. They're all on vacation right now, so when they come back, it should be up on the storefront. And if you see that it's up, please review us. Give us a good review, or give us a review at all. If you think it's terrible, please just tell us that it's terrible. Provide feedback in the iTunes store, and that'll definitely help us get more listeners, and that would definitely be awesome.
All right, well, thank you guys for listening on this November 30th, 2013 Saturday.
Yes,
and we will catch you next time.
Later.